Good morning, my beloved friend. The world is still wrapped in a soft hush, the air trembling between night and dawn. The sky is slowly awakening, streaked with pale gold and traces of lavender, as if heaven itself were breathing upon the earth again. The first birds have begun to stir, and the dew glistens on the grass like scattered pearls. It is in this quiet hour before the noise, before the deadlines, before the world demands your attention, that something sacred happens. Time seems to slow. The soul, often hidden beneath the rush of the day, begins to whisper again. Maybe you are listening now because sleep would not come. Perhaps your heart feels heavy with worry, your thoughts restless with memories that refuse to fade. You might be standing at the edge of uncertainty, watching a relationship unravel, a door close, or a dream lose its light. There are mornings when pain feels closer than peace, when the ache in your chest outlasts the night. I think of a woman who once sat by her window at this same hour. Her husband had left, her savings were gone, and silence had become her only company. Every morning she told herself she was fine, but the truth was she felt invisible. One dawn, she whispered not loudly, just enough for heaven to hear, "If you still see me, speak." And in that stillness, peace came, not in thunder or miracles, but like warmth spreading through a cold room. That morning, she realized she was not forgotten. Maybe her story sounds like yours. You might not have the same details, but you know the same ache, the kind that makes you wonder if God has moved on without you. Yet here you are, awake before sunrise, drawn to this quiet as though something or someone has been waiting. Perhaps it is not coincidence. Perhaps it is invitation. The stillness you feel is not emptiness. It is space prepared for encounter. In this hour, the veil between heaven and earth feels thinner, the distance between despair and hope shorter than you think. Prayer is not for the strong who have it all together. It is for the wary who dare to believe that weakness can still be holy ground. When you speak to God, you are not performing. You are returning. You are stepping out of the noise into the certainty of His presence. Faith does not erase fear, but it teaches you who holds it. Even the smallest prayer, whispered through trembling lips, can move mountains unseen. You do not have to know the words. You only have to open the door of your heart and let Him in. This morning, let yourself breathe. Let the dawn become a reminder that light always follows darkness, that hope is stubborn enough to rise again. Let every heartbeat say, "I am still here, and God is still near." Wherever you are, kitchen table, bedside, bus seat, this moment is holy because your heart has turned toward the one who never turns away. So take a deep breath. Release the weight of yesterday. Allow the quiet to surround you, not as emptiness, but as promise. The journey ahead is not about striving, but about surrender. Together, we will walk through valleys, stand upon mountains, and find peace in the middle. The night has passed. My friend, the morning has come. Now, let us begin to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, before the city wakes, before the sound of traffic begins to hum, I come to you in the quiet. The air feels sacred, still holding the breath of night, and I feel small beneath its weight. Yet even in this stillness, my heart beats loud with questions, with aches I cannot name. I am here because I do not want to begin another day pretending that I am fine. I have smiled when I was weary, spoken when I wanted silence. Their weight of worries as though I could fix them on my own. But this morning, I choose honesty. I am tired, Lord, not just in my body, but in my spirit. There are parts of me I do not recognize anymore. Corners of my heart I have avoided because they remind me of failure or fear. I bring them to you now, one by one. The broken pieces I tried to hide. The doubts that whisper I am not enough. The fears that wake me in the night. The memories that play like echoes I cannot silence. You see them all and still call me beloved. You are not surprised by my weakness. You do not turn away when I falter. You have watched me stumble through the dark valleys and still waited at the edge of dawn for me to return. And so here I am, Lord, standing in the fragile light of early morning, asking you to meet me where I am. Sometimes I imagine you walking through the shadows with me, not rushing, not scolding, but steady, sure, patient. The world tells me to keep moving, to hustle, to chase worth through success. But you whisper a different rhythm. You ask me to be still, to know that you are God. That command feels simple yet impossible. My mind races even as my lips pray. I confess that I do not always know how to rest. Teach me how to trust the silence, how to believe that your stillness is not absence but presence. This morning, Father, I am not asking for everything to be fixed. I am asking to be found. When I lose myself in anxiety, find me. When I wander into old habits, call me back. When I forget that you are near, remind me through something ordinary, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of a bird, the breath that proves I am still alive. Let these small miracles be enough to draw me back into awareness of you. I think of how the world begins each day without effort. The sun rises not because it must prove anything, but because you commanded light to return. The flowers open because that is what they were made to do. Perhaps that is all you ask of me today, to rise again. Not perfectly, but faithfully, to open my heart even when I feel fragile, to believe that you are here, even when I do not feel holy enough to pray. You know, Lord, how easily I drift into fear. It hides in my plans, in my need to control outcomes, in my worry about what people think. But fear has never been a good shepherd. It drives and drains, but it never leads to peace. You, on the other hand, lead gently. You restore. You make paths straight through tangled emotions. When I cannot see ahead, you see beyond. So even as I stand in the uncertainty of today, I choose to believe that you have already gone before me. Let this morning become the threshold of something new. Let it mark a turning from self-reliance toward surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but of trust. I release to you what I cannot carry, the names of those I love who are hurting, the responsibilities that stretch me thin, the guilt that lingers from words I wish I could take back. I give you the moments I fear will never change. You can hold them better than I can. You can breathe life into what feels lost. Father, if my faith feels small, let it still count. You said a mustard seed is enough, so I offer mine now. Let it grow quietly in the soil of your mercy. Water it with grace. Protect it from the voices that tell me I am wasting time by praying. I know better. I know that prayer is not wasted breath, but sacred exchange, where I release my burdens and receive your peace. And as I breathe in this still air, I begin to sense something shifting. The heaviness does not vanish, but it begins to settle. My heart beats slower. The noise inside me softens. Perhaps this is what it means to be held, not to be spared from pain, but to be steadied through it. I am learning that healing does not always come as fireworks or instant freedom. Sometimes it comes quietly, like dawn creeping over a sleeping city. You are patient with my process, and I thank you. Today, I do not need grand revelations. I need your presence to fill the ordinary. Let my first cup of water remind me of living water. Let my morning steps become small acts of worship. Let me meet others with kindness that flows from the peace you give. And when the world grows loud again, help me remember this hour, this stillness, this conversation between my trembling heart and your steady love. Dear Father, as the sun begins to rise, I ask that you also rise within me. Let your light reach the places still shadowed by doubt. Let your warmth loosen the cold grip of worry. Let this new day become a story of grace unfolding quietly in real time. I may not know what the next hour holds, but I know who holds me, and that is enough. I will step into today not as someone forgotten, but as someone found. Not as someone fighting alone, but as one being gently led. Hold me in this awareness, Lord. Keep my heart awake to your whispers, my eyes open to your beauty, my spirit anchored in your peace. If I falter, bring me back. If I rush, slow me down. If I grow weary, remind me of this stillness. I am yours, and in that truth, I find rest for the road ahead. Lord, as the first light begins to stretch across the sky, I find myself still lingering in the quiet you gave me. The peace from before has not vanished, but underneath it, another sound begins to rise, the trembling voice of the heart that has kept silent too long. Yesterday, a stillness was a balm, but today, it opens deeper wounds that I have avoided. The truth is, I am afraid of what still hurts. I am afraid of what has not healed. I am afraid that the ache in my soul has grown louder than my faith. You know the valley I walk through. Even when I pretend it is only a small hill, you see the moments when I smile in public and cry in secret. The nights when I say I trust you, but still check the horizon for rescue. Sometimes the shadows feel endless, and I wonder if I have somehow strayed too far. Yet I remember your promise that no valley is too deep for your presence. You do not stand at a distance waiting for me to climb out. You walk beside me, unhurried, unafraid of the darkness that frightens me. I confess, Lord, there are days when I question everything. I ask why prayers linger unanswered, why storms return when I thought they had passed. There are mornings when hope feels like a story told to someone else. But then, even as doubt rises, I hear the quiet echo of your word reminding me that faith is not certainty. It is trust in your nearness. It is believing you have not left even when I cannot feel your hand. I remember seasons when I tried to carry my pain alone, thinking it was noble strength. I buried grief under business, guilt under laughter, loneliness under noise. But pain hidden is pain that grows. You never asked me to be unbreakable. You asked me to be honest. And so I come again not polished, not composed but honest. I bring the ache that hides beneath my gratitude, the disappointment that lingers after brave smiles. I bring the part of me that fears to hope again. Teach me how to cry without shame. Let tears become prayer when words fail. Let them water the soil where new life will grow. Remind me that lament is not lack of faith, but the language of those who still believe you listen. Every tear is a seed, and though I do not yet see the harvest, you promise that joy will return. You promise that weeping may endure for a night. But joy comes in the morning, and the morning is here, Lord. Though my heart still feels heavy, there is a strange beauty in this valley. The air is cool, the soil rich. It is here that roots grow deep, where faith learns to hold fast when surface strength has run out. I do not like the shadows, yet I sense they are shaping me. Perhaps the valley is not punishment, but preparation. Perhaps this is where you are teaching me the slow art of trust, the kind that does not depend on quick answers, but on your steady heart. If I listen closely, I can almost hear it, the whisper of your compassion, moving through the silence. It tells me that you have not forgotten, that the story is not finished, that the pain I fear will consume me is becoming the place where your comfort will dwell. Help me to stay here long enough to see that truth unfold. Help me not to rush away from what you are healing. I think of others who walk their own valleys this morning. Some grieve losses too deep for words. Some face illness, betrayal, or fear that keeps them awake through the night. For each one, I ask that your presence will settle like morning mist around them. Let your peace find them where hope feels thin. Let them know that they are not alone, that even in shadow, you are light enough. And for my own soul, Lord, teach me patience in this in-between place. The mountain will come, but not yet. For now, I am here, in the valley, learning to walk without seeing the summit. Let me not despise this ground. Let me notice the small mercies you hide along the path, the kindness of a friend, the warmth of sunlight, the quiet strength to keep moving. Let gratitude and grief coexist without shame. If courage is the ability to keep walking while afraid, then give me that kind of courage, not the boldness that shouts, but the kind that whispers. I will try again today. Let that be enough. Let each step become a prayer that says, I trust you, even here. And when I falter, remind me that your hand never loosens its grip. I am beginning to see that valleys are not voids. They are classrooms where faith is taught not through victories, but through endurance. They are altars where surrender becomes strength, and maybe that is the quiet miracle you are working this morning, not changing my circumstances yet, but changing the way I carry them. So I will not curse the shadows anymore. I will walk through them with open eyes. If the valley is where you meet me, then let it also be where I meet myself again, honest. fragile, but still held. Let this day begin with the sound of my cry rising toward you, not as complaint, but as communion. And as I breathe out the H I have carried too long, let your breath fill the empty places with quiet hope that does not fade with the dawn. Father, the valley behind me still echoes in my thoughts. Yet as the light softens across the room, I feel a quiet invitation rising and urging to stop striving, to simply be here with you. The shadows have not disappeared, but they have lost their power to define this hour. My heart, once tangled in noise, begins to unclench, and I realize how long it has been since I allowed silence to feel like safety. There is a sweetness in this stillness, not the emptiness I once feared, but the presence that waits beneath every breath. You know how my mind runs ahead, Lord, building plans and rehearsing worries before the morning is fully born. I reach for my phone before I reach for peace. I scroll through the world before I lift my eyes to heaven. Yet now, in this sacred pause, I sense you whispering, "Be still." It is not a command to do nothing, but an invitation to trust. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the posture of surrender. It is the letting go of what cannot be controlled and the leaning into what can only be received. Teach me, God, how to rest in this awareness. Help me to stop confusing business with purpose, effort with devotion. Let me breathe without rushing toward the next thing. Let me find you not only in answered prayers, but in the waiting that precedes them. I used to think peace came when everything was resolved, but perhaps peace begins when I decide to stop resisting. I can feel the pulse of my own restlessness still tugging, the habit of movement that refuses to die quietly. But you, patient as dawn, meet me here anyway. You are not asking me to earn rest. You are offering it. You are not scolding the noise inside me. You are calming it like a parent hushes a child who cannot sleep. Every inhale becomes a reminder of your patience. Every exhale, a release of my need to control. I picture a lake at dawn, its surface smooth after a long night of wind. That is what my heart longs to become: reflective, undisturbed, able to mirror your presence instead of my panic. Let your spirit settle the ripples within me. Let your quiet fill the places where fear has spoken too loudly. In this silence, I begin to sense that you are not far at all. You are here in the ordinary rhythm of breathing, in the steady hum of life awakening around me. I realize that surrender does not mean loss. It means finding myself again, beneath the layers of survival. It means believing that I do not have to keep proving my worth to be loved. The world measures value by productivity, but you call me valuable before I have done anything. You name me beloved before I speak a single word. In your eyes, my stillness is not wasted time, it is worship. There are things I have tried to fix on my own that remain broken. There are people I have tried to save who needed you more than me. There are battles I have fought in exhaustion that were never mine to win. I lay them here, Lord, every worry disguised as responsibility. Every weight I called duty, but was really fear. Take them, not because I am giving up, but because I am learning to trust the hands that hold universes together. If stillness is the language of faith, then let me speak it fluently. Teach me to listen more than I talk, to wait more than I demand. Let me not rush past this moment searching for meaning, when meaning is already present in you. Help me understand that surrender is not weakness, but wisdom that is the only way to truly receive strength that endures. Even as I sit in this calm, the world beyond these walls begins to stir. Doors open. Engines start. Voices rise. But here, within this cocoon of quiet, I remain aware that the truest battles are fought not in noise, but in trust. When I choose silence over fear, patience over panic, I am declaring that you reign here too in the unseen. The unresolved, the slow unfolding of your will. So I rest, Lord, not because everything is easy, but because I finally believe that I am safe in your presence. I rest because I trust you to hold what I cannot carry. I rest because you have never failed to rise with the dawn. And as I sit in this stillness, I realize it is not the world that must quiet down, it is me. My thoughts begin to align with the rhythm of your grace. My spirit learns again to breathe without rushing. Let this peace travel with me when I rise from prayer. Let it guard my tone when I speak, my pace when I move, my choices when I feel pressure. Let every step today carry the residue of this stillness. A reminder that I am not called to hurry but to abide. I will move when you lead and pause when you whisper. I will trust that your timing is never late, your silence never empty. And if the noise returns, as I know it will, teach me to return here to this moment of sacred surrender where nothing is demanded and everything is possible. For here, in the quiet between breaths, I know again that you are God, and that is enough. Lord, as the stillness lingers, I begin to realize that rest alone is not enough if I do not understand what keeps stealing my peace. In the quiet you have given me, old thoughts rise from the shadows, small but sharp, whispering doubts I thought I had silenced. It is here, in this moment of clarity, that I see how subtle the battle truly is. It does not always roar. Sometimes it murmurs beneath the surface of my calm. I am learning that before I can walk freely, I must name what I am fighting. And so, Father, help me see the unseen. Help me discern what is truly mine to carry and what belongs at your feet. There are enemies that wear familiar faces, fear that dresses itself as caution, pride that hides behind good intentions, worry that pretends to be responsibility. I have allowed them space in my mind because they came politely, whispering lies that sounded reasonable, but I can feel your spirit pulling back the curtain now. You are showing me that not every thought deserves a home. Not every emotion deserves authority. Some are simply echoes of old wounds that I have mistaken for truth. Teach me how to recognize them, not with condemnation, but with courage. God, I confess how often I have fought shadows instead of substance. I have tried to control people instead of confronting my own unbelief. I have exhausted myself chasing approval while the real battle was in my identity. The enemy does not need to destroy me if he can distract me, and too often I have let distraction win, but not this morning. This morning, I choose awareness. I choose to look honestly at what I have allowed to shape my days. The world around me tells me that success will bring peace, That achievement will quiet my doubts, yet I have reached milestones and still felt empty. I have gathered possessions and still felt poor in spirit. The battle, I see now, is not fought with effort, but with alignment, aligning my thoughts with yours, my priorities with heaven's rhythm. It begins within, in the small space between truth and deception, faith and fear. That is where victory is born. Show me, Lord, what weapons I have been using that do not belong to me. I have swung words like swords, used silence like shields, and built walls that keep even love out. Teach me instead to fight with gentleness, to resist with patience, to stand not through aggression but through assurance. You have not called me to be loud. You have called me to be light. And light does not argue with darkness, it simply shines until shadows retreat. I can feel your presence sharpening my vision. You are not teaching me how to escape the world, but how to walk through it awake. There are battles that are not mine to fight and burdens I was never meant to bear. Help me to release them back to you. Let discernment become my strength, the ability to know when to act and when to stand still, when to speak and when to remain silent. Let me never confuse surrender with defeat or endurance with apathy. In this early light, Father, I begin to see how often my greatest battles happen before anyone else is awake. The thoughts that come in the half-dark, the regrets that whisper as dawn approaches, these are not coincidences. They are invitations to choose faith again, and I do. Right here, I choose to stand in truth even when feelings tremble. I choose to remember that I am not fighting for victory. I am fighting from it. The cross already declared the outcome. The empty tomb already silenced the accuser. I am simply learning to live in the reality of what you have already won. But Lord, I also see that naming the battle is not only about external conflict, it is about inner honesty. It is about facing the parts of myself I prefer to hide. My impatience, my jealousy, my tendency to measure my worth by comparison, these two are battlegrounds. You do not shame me for them. You invite me to bring them into light. In your presence, I find the courage to admit what I fear, that sometimes I resist peace because chaos feels familiar. Heal that pattern. Lord, let me no longer confuse tension with purpose. I sense that you are calling me to a different kind of strength, the quiet kind that does not depend on being right or being seen. The kind that forgives first, prays quietly, and trusts even when the outcome is uncertain. Teach me to fight with forgiveness, to overcome evil with compassion, to respond to bitterness with grace. These are weapons the world does not understand, but heaven recognizes. Let this awareness travel with me today. As I walk through conversations, let me remember that not every conflict needs a response. Not every challenge needs a defense. Sometimes the greatest victory is peace. Sometimes the most powerful stance is stillness grounded in truth. And sometimes the most courageous word is silence spoken in faith. Father, if I am to name this battle honestly, then let me also name my dependence on you. Without your wisdom, I confuse noise for victory. Without your spirit, I mistake pride for confidence. But with you, clarity comes softly, like light revealing what was hidden in shadow. I begin to see that the true enemy is not always outside. It is the fear that keeps me from trusting you fully. It is the doubt that whispers I am alone. Remind me over and over that I am never alone. So this morning, I will walk forward with open eyes, not as a soldier hardened by struggle, but as a child protected by love. I will carry peace like a shield and humility like armor. I will let your truth define the battle and your victory determine my strength. And when I grow weary, I will return here to this sacred clarity where the war within quiets under your voice. And I remember again that I am already free. Father, as the morning widens and the light finds its way through the windows, I sense a quiet strength rising where fear once lived. The battle I named has not vanished, but its voice no longer shakes me. There is a deeper melody now, a rhythm beneath the noise of life, and it hums the sound of peace. I do not claim to understand it fully, yet I know it is yours. It does not arrive with fanfare or demand attention. It settles gently, like a banner unfurled over the weary heart, declaring that I am safe even when nothing outside has changed. Lord, you know how easily I lose that peace. A single word, a small delay, a reminder of something undone. These can scatter it like wind through ashes. I hold on to calm as though it were fragile glass, afraid the world will break it again. But the peace you give is not brittle. It is living. It grows stronger in storms, deeper in silence. It is not something to protect, but something that protects me. It is the assurance that you are here, reigning quietly over every uncertain moment. Teach me how to dwell beneath this banner, not just glance at it when I am frightened. Let peace become the atmosphere of my thoughts, not the emergency shelter I run to when anxiety rises. Let it be the language I speak, the tone of my heart, the way I walk through today. You once said, "My peace I give to you, not as the world gives, but as heaven gives without condition, without expiration." And so I receive it again now, as if for the first time. Sometimes I wonder, God, if peace is not the absence of chaos, but the certainty of your nearness. Maybe the wind will still blow, the problems will still stand, and yet, deep inside, something unshakable remains. That is the peace I long for, the kind that holds steady in the face of storms, not the shallow quiet of avoidance, but the deep stillness of trust. Let this be the peace that guards my heart when fear knocks, the peace that steadies my words when I am tempted to react, the peace that keeps me gentle in a harsh world. I confess, there are moments when I trade peace for control. I rush, I fix, I plan as though panic could build security. But control is a counterfeit comfort. It promises safety yet delivers exhaustion. You never ask me to control outcomes, only to stay close to you. When I surrender my need to manage everything, I feel the edges of that banner unfold again, stretching wide enough to cover every detail of my day. Beneath it, I remember, I am not the one holding the world together. You are, so I choose, this morning, to breathe beneath that truth. I will not chase what you have not yet revealed. I will not borrow worries from tomorrow. I will stand here in this present grace, letting peace rule where fear once dictated, Let it guard the gate of my mind. Let it stand watch over my emotions. Let it whisper wisdom when chaos presses near. I imagine this peace as a soft wind brushing across a battlefield, carrying the scent of victory before the fight is done. It does not erase the conflict. It transforms how I face it. The warriors of worry lose their strength under its calm. The arrows of anxiety fall short, even when questions remain. This peace wraps around me like armor made of light, stronger than reason, gentler than explanation. Lord, help me extend this peace beyond myself. Let it overflow into my relationships. Soften my tone when I speak, and steady my reactions when I am provoked. Let my presence bring calm instead of tension. Let my words mend rather than wound. Teach me to listen more deeply, to understand before I answer. Let the peace within me become peace around me. And when the day tests that peace, as it surely will, remind me of this moment. Remind me of this stillness that exists even when the world spins too fast. Let me return to it not as escape, but as alignment. Let peace be the compass that keeps me facing you, the anchor that keeps me from drifting into fear. Sometimes I think of the stories you told of storms at sea. Your friends panicked as waves crashed around them, but you slept, untroubled, because you knew who held the sea. Then you rose and spoke just 2 words, "Be still," and creation obeyed. The same voice that calmed the waves still speaks into my chaos. Teach me to hear it, to believe that no storm is stronger than the calm that flows from your presence. Father, let this peace not depend on perfect circumstances, but on perfect trust. Let it begin in my breathing and stretch into every step I take. Let it meet me in the noise of errands, in the quiet of thought, in the tension of waiting. Let it live where I live, work where I work, love where I love. Let it be the invisible banner raised above every conversation, every choice, every fear. And when the evening comes, may I look back and see that peace was not a fleeting visitor, but a faithful companion. Let it remind me, again and again, that the heart guarded by you cannot be shaken. The world may change, the winds may shift, but under the banner of your peace, I am held steady, unchanged at the center, resting in the calm that comes only from knowing you are near. Father, as I rest beneath the quiet banner of your peace, I begin to see that peace is not the end of the journey. It is the ground on which trust begins to walk. The calm you have given me is not meant for stillness alone. It is meant for movement guided by faith. My heart whispers that you are leading me somewhere, though I cannot yet see the road ahead. And in that knowing, a mixture of awe and trembling fills me. You are not only the God who comforts me in the valley. You are the shepherd who leads me through it. Lord, there is something sacred about being led. It requires a humility that my heart resists. I like to choose my own path, to hold my own map, to move when I decide the time is right. Yet every time I take control, I end up lost, circling the same fears dressed in new disguises. You, however, do not rush. You guide me with intention step by step, not with commands shouted from a distance, but with gentle nudges, like a shepherd guiding a wandering sheep with his staff. Teach me, Lord, to respond to your direction before I collapse in confusion. Let obedience become my rhythm, not my last resort. Sometimes I wish I could see the entire trail before I start walking. But you rarely show the whole picture. Do you? You reveal enough light for one more step, enough grace for one more breath. I am learning that this is not cruelty, it is mercy. If I saw everything ahead, I might never begin. If I knew every challenge waiting for me, I might never take the first step. You protect me from the weight of what is too heavy for today, and for that, I am thankful. You are the God who knows how far I can walk before I need to rest. Father, your rod and staff, they comfort me. Not because they are gentle, but because they are good. The rod defends me when I cannot defend myself. It pushes back what tries to devour my peace. It corrects me when I drift toward danger, even when I mistake your correction for pain. And the staff, it draws me near again, looping around my fear and pulling me back to the safety of your side. In every strike of the rod, in every curve of the staff, there is love. You are not only my comforter, you are my guardian. You do not watch from afar while I wander. You walk with me and sometimes carry me when my steps falter. Still, I confess that I do not always understand your leading. There are paths that seem too steep, valleys too dark, turns that make no sense. My instinct is to ask why. But lately, I am learning to ask who walks with me in this uncertainty, who steadies me when I stumble. The answer is always the same, it is you. Knowing who leads is greater than knowing where I am going. There are moments, Lord, when I feel the rod of your correction and want to run. The pride in me resists the idea that I need to be guided. Yet every time I yield, I find grace in the discipline. You prune not to punish, but to help me bear fruit that lasts. You take away what hinders, even when I call it comfort. You close doors not to harm me, but to lead me toward better ones. Let me not mistake your protection for rejection. Let me remember that love sometimes withholds what I want to give me what I need. God, help me to walk today as one who trusts the shepherd completely. Let every decision be measured not by fear or logic, but by your whisper. Keep me from straying toward paths that glitter but lead to emptiness. Remind me that safety is not found in avoiding trouble, but in walking beside you through it. I do not want to wander anymore. I do not want to waste the journey fighting the very one who guides me. And as I follow, help me notice the gentle signs of your care that line the road. The kindness of a stranger, the patience of a friend, the unexpected provision at the moment I need it most. These are your footprints, quiet but sure. You are not absent in the ordinary. You are the miracle hiding in every detail. Let me walk slow enough to see it. Let gratitude become my way of saying, I see you here. Father, there are wolves that circle unseen, voices that lure me toward distraction. But I know your rod will strike where I cannot. I know that when confusion rises, your staff will find me. So even if I stumble, I will not fall far. Even if I drift, I will not drift beyond your reach. I trust that your guidance is not dependent on my perfection, but on your mercy. There is comfort in realizing that you are not a distant commander, shouting from the mountaintop. You are beside me, step for step, eyes fixed on the same horizon you promised long ago. You see dangers before I do, and you steer me gently away. You see fatigue forming in my bones, and you make me lie down before I collapse. You see the cliff ahead and guide me toward still waters instead. You are shepherd in every sense, not just a leader, but a companion. Not just protector, but provider. So today, let me walk without fear of losing my way. Let me remember that following you is not weakness, but wisdom. Let my obedience be an act of love, not obligation. Let every step I take be a silent declaration that I trust where you are leading, even if I cannot yet see the destination. And when the day grows long and my feet grow tired, let me feel the firm touch of your staff reminding me that I am not lost. I am led. Keep me near. Lord, close enough to hear your voice. Close enough to follow without hesitation. Close enough that when you stop, I stop. And when you move, I move. Let this be the rhythm of my day, not my will, but yours guiding my every step. And as the sun climbs higher and the world begins its noise, let me carry this quiet assurance with me that the shepherd who began the journey will lead it to completion, and his rod and staff will guide me every step of the way. Father, the path you have led me on feels lighter today, though my steps still tremble at times. I sense how your rod and staff have steadied me, how your presence has turned the unknown into holy ground. Yet as I pause beside this stretch of morning light, I know there is still more within me that needs to be made new. The dust of yesterday clings to my hard-old words I regret, small compromises I excused, burdens I carried instead of surrendering. I stand here now, longing not only to be guided but to be cleansed. Lord, I have learned that peace is not complete without purity. It is easy to speak of trust while still holding pieces of myself back from your touch. But you desire truth in the inward places. You call not only for open hands, but for a clean heart. And so I come, wary but willing, asking that you wash what has become dull inside me. Let the waters of your mercy flow through the corridors of my mind, rinsing away bitterness, fear, and guilt that have settled like sediment at the bottom of my soul. Sometimes I do not realize how deeply I have been stained by the world's noise. It seeps in through the smallest cracks, comparison disguised as ambition, cynicism dressed as wisdom, self-pity pretending to be reflection. These are small things, yet they build walls between my heart and yours. I cannot remove them on my own. Lord, my strength polishes the surface, but only your spirit can reach the corners I avoid. Only your kindness can make me whole again. I picture myself stepping into a quiet stream. The water is cool and steady, moving around me but not rushing. I imagine its touch as forgiveness made visible gentle. Thorough, alive, it does not scold. It restores. It does not demand. It renews. And in that moment, I understand what grace feels like. It is not a theory, but a current, carrying away what I was never meant to keep. Father, I confess the things I have hidden, the harsh words I spoke under pressure, the silent judgments I nursed when I should have shown compassion, the doubts I fed more than faith. You already know them, but I name them anyway, because confession is the sound of freedom. I have learned that you cannot heal what I insist on concealing. So I lay them before you not to be reminded of failure, but to make space for redemption. There is something beautiful about how you cleanse without shaming. You do not remind me of my dirtness. You remind me of my belonging. Your mercy does not just remove what is wrong, it restores what is right, like rain that falls on parched earth. It does not ask the ground why it is dry. It simply brings life. Let that same mercy fall here, Lord. Let it soak through everything that has grown brittle in me. I think of how you once washed the feet of those who followed you, even the one who would betray you. That image lingers in my mind, the humility, the tenderness, the deliberate love. If you could wash the dust from their journey, then surely you can cleanse mine. Teach me to receive that grace without argument. Teach me to stop trying to earn what can only be given. God, I do not want to walk into this day carrying yesterday's residue. I want to be light again, light-hearted, light-footed, light in spirit. Let forgiveness make me free enough to forgive others, to stop measuring myself by what has been broken and start living as one made new. Let my thoughts today be clear as running water, my intentions pure, my words gentle. Let me not pollute the peace you have placed within me by dragging old anger into new hours. When guilt tries to return, help me remember that you do not recycle shame. Once it is released into your grace, it is gone. The river does not carry the same water twice. Each moment with you is a fresh beginning. Each breath is an unspoken reminder that mercy is still flowing. Let me drink deeply from it, Lord, until every trace of bitterness is replaced with compassion. There are places in my life where I have resisted your cleansing because I feared what would remain when the dirt was gone. I thought I might lose part of myself if I let go of the pain that shaped me. But you remind me that I was never defined by my scars. I was defined by your image. So take even the pain, Lord, and wash it until it shines with purpose instead of sorrow. Turn the wounds into wells where others may find healing too. As the morning brightens, I can almost feel the freshness of your grace surrounding me like dew on grass. Everything glistens again, alive and renewed. The mistakes that once clung so tightly lose their grip. The fear of repeating them begins to fade. I walk forward clean, not because I am flawless, but because you have made me free. Keep me near the source. Father, let me never wander too far from these cleansing waters. Let me return daily to the stream of your mercy before the dust has time to settle again. Let the flow of grace be constant in me, purifying my thoughts, softening my heart, renewing my strength. And as I move into the day, let this inner renewal spill outward. Let others sense in me not perfection, but peace. Let them see what grace looks like when it walks, when it speaks, when it forgives. Let my life be a reflection of the one who washes away all that hinders love. Let it be clear. Through everything I do, the water still flows and that it never runs dry. Father, as I rise from the waters of your mercy, the air feels lighter, the horizon wider. The cleansing has left me quiet, emptied of the noise that once filled my thoughts. I stand in this still hour when the sky turns from gray to gold, and I realize that your faithfulness has outlasted another night. I am not who I was yesterday. I am being remade in ways I cannot see yet. but I can feel the gentle pulse of renewal beginning again. Each morning is proof that grace is not a limited resource. It is a rhythm that never ends. Lord, I have walked through the heaviness of nights that seemed endless, but each dawn reminds me that you are not done. The world begins to move again, the birds, the trees, the wind, and even the smallest sound feels like a hymn. This is the moment when you whisper what my weary heart forgets. My mercies are new every morning. They are not recycled, not borrowed, not half spent. They are fresh, like the first breath of creation, made specifically for this day. I inhale deeply, letting that truth fill me. What yesterday drained, today restores. Sometimes, I think of how many mornings I have missed this miracle. I have rushed past sunrise, chasing time instead of receiving it. I have started days with lists instead of gratitude, measuring my worth by tasks completed instead of by grace received. But you are teaching me to begin differently, to wake not with pressure, but with wonder, to understand that before I accomplish anything, I am already loved, already provided for, already forgiven. The dawn itself preaches the gospel of enough. Father, I bring before you all the places that still feel fragile, the unfinished work, the prayers not yet answered, the relationship still waiting for healing. I used to think I had to fix everything before I could rest in your presence. Now I see that rest is the soil where miracles grow. You do not demand that I arrive perfect. You meet me where I am and cover what I lack with new mercy. The very things that make me anxious are the places you long to fill with grace. You know the weariness that lingers after long seasons of striving. You see how easily I slip back into old patterns of fear and control. But your mercy meets me there, not as a reprimand, but as a rescue. You do not shame me for needing grace again. You delight in giving it. The sunrise is not tired of shining, and neither are you tired of forgiving. I cannot outrun your compassion, and I do not want to try. I picture your mercy like dew resting on the ground, forming quietly through the night, unseen but waiting to refresh everything it touches. It does not announce itself with thunder, it simply arrives. That is how you work, Lord, quietly, faithfully, always on time. Even when I cannot trace your hand, I can trust your heart. Let that awareness shape how I live today. Let gratitude become the first language my soul speaks. There is something holy about beginning again. It reminds me that you value process more than perfection. You do not measure my faith by the speed of my progress, but by the softness of my surrender. You know how often I fall, yet you keep placing mornings before me as invitations to rise again. You rewrite my story daily, not because I deserve it, but because love insists on continuing. Help me, God, to recognize mercy in the details, the coffee that warms my hands, the text from a friend, the quiet moment between responsibilities. Let me see it in forgiveness offered and received, in laughter that breaks tension, in courage that returns unannounced. These are the small miracles that weave grace into my day. I do not want to overlook them anymore. When the world demands more than I can give, remind me that mercy is not a resource I must earn. It is the atmosphere I live in. Let me breathe it, Speak it. Share it. Let my presence bring relief to others. Not pressure. Let the tone of my words carry kindness that mirrors your patience. If I am to reflect you at all, let it be through gentleness that comes from knowing I am forgiven too. Lord, some mornings still begin with uncertainty, with headlines that stir fear, with schedules that overwhelm, with memories that sting. Yet even in those moments, mercy is there, quietly holding space for hope. It is not blind optimism. It is the assurance that nothing is beyond redemption. You are always creating, always restoring, always making a way. Even my failures are not final when placed in your hands. I do not know what this day holds, but I know who holds me. That is enough to steady my heart. Your mercies are not just new, they are personal, tailored for the very challenges I will face. Where patience is thin, you pour more. Where strength falters, you renew it. Where understanding fails, you whisper peace. Let me move through this day, not as someone trying to prove worth, but as one walking in the overflow of grace already given. As the sun climbs higher, I feel gratitude rising with it. The light touches everything: the windows, the walls, the earth, and I know it will find even the hidden places of my heart. Whatever shadows remain will not last. You will meet me in them with mercy again tomorrow. For now, I will live this day as a witness to your faithfulness, softly, humbly, gratefully carrying the truth that every dawn is proof that you have not given up on me and never will. Lord, as sunlight spreads across the room and the fragrance of morning deepens, I feel the quiet strength of your mercy still clinging to me. The freshness of this new day is not merely in the air, is in my spirit. Yet as I prepare to step out into the rhythm of life, I know that peace, no matter how deep, must be protected. What was planted in stillness must be guarded in motion. The world beyond these walls waits with its noise, its hurry, its temptations to forget. So, Father, before I move into the day, clothe me again not in worry or performance, but in your divine armor. You have never promised me a life without challenge, but you have promised me strength to meet it, and that strength begins not with confidence in myself, but with surrender to you. Today, I stand at the threshold of ordinary hours, emails, errands, conversations, decisions, and I know that in each one, a quiet battle unfolds, not of violence, but of focus, not of visible enemies, but of unseen influences pulling at the edges of faith. The battlefield is not far away. It is within me, in the spaces where patience must replace irritation, where compassion must overcome pride, where truth must silence fear. Father, wrap your truth around me like a belt that steadies my core. Let honesty hold me firm when excuses try to twist my motives. Let integrity keep me upright when comfort tempts me to compromise. Teach me to live in truth not just when it is easy, but when it costs something. The world teaches disguise, but you call me to transparency. May my yes be yes, my no be no, and my actions quietly reflect the one I follow. Place upon me the breastplate of righteousness, not my own attempt to appear good, but the righteousness that flows from you. Guard my heart, Lord, from bitterness disguised as discernment, from self-righteousness masquerading as conviction. Let compassion be the shield over every intention. Let humility be the thread that fastens the armor tight, for righteousness is not about perfection. It is about alignment, my heart resting where yours beats. Guide my steps with the shoes of peace. Let me walk through this day carrying calm where tension waits to rise. Let every place my foot touches feel the presence of grace. When conflict approaches, teach me not to react with defense, but to stand firm in gentleness. Let my pace be steady, not hurried, purposeful, not pressured. Peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of you in motion. Let me bring that peace into hallways, into conversations, into every small moment that might otherwise fracture under stress. Lord, place in my hands the shield of faith. The fiery darts of doubt still come, some subtle, some sharp but with faith lifted high. They lose their sting. Remind me that belief is not blind optimism. It is trust in your character when outcomes remain unclear. Let my shield be wide enough to protect those beside me who are wary. Let my confidence in you become courage for them. Let me hold it not as a weapon, but as a covering of assurance that we are never alone in the struggle. Set upon my head the helmet of salvation, a reminder that my identity is already secure. The noise of the world often tries to tell me who I am, not unworthy, unseen, unprepared, but your voice cuts through it all. Chosen, beloved, redeemed. Let that truth guard my thoughts from self-condemnation and fear. Let it shape my perspective so that even when challenges come, I do not see defeat, but opportunity for your glory to shine through my weakness. And Father, place in my hands the sword of the Spirit, which is your word alive and breathing. Let it not be something I wield recklessly, but something I carry with reverence. When temptation whispers half-truths, let Scripture speak full ones. When despair tries to silence prayer, let your promises rise like light breaking through the fog. Your word is not merely ink on paper. It is the pulse of eternity beating within time. Let it cut away confusion, reveal deception, and illuminate the path you have set before me. Even as I put on this armor, I realize it is not made of steel, but of surrender. It is not about becoming harder, but about becoming aware of who fights for me, who strengthens me, who walks beside me. You do not call me to win every battle. You call me to stand, to stay rooted in faith when the winds rise. Strength in your kingdom looks like steadfastness, not dominance. Peace, not panic. Lord, as I move through the day, let this armor be unseen but unmistakable. Let patience become my defense, kindness my strategy, love my victory. Let every task, no matter how mundane, become an act of worship, whether I am speaking, listening, or waiting. Let me do it as one prepared, aware that even the smallest obedience carries eternal weight. When frustration tries to wear me down, remind me that I am clothed in grace. When discouragement whispers I am weak, remind me that your strength is the fabric that holds me together. When distractions pull my eyes away, remind me to lift my gaze again to the one who fights for me. The armor you give, Lord, is not heavy. It fits perfectly because it was tailored by love. It does not burden me. It frees me to walk into the day unafraid. And as I take my first steps into these ordinary hours, I know they are not ordinary at all. Every moment holds the possibility of glory if I carry you within it. So let me go forward, fully dressed in light truth guarding my words, righteousness guiding my motives, peace pacing my steps, faith steadying my heart, salvation protecting my mind, and your word shaping my every thought. Wherever I walk today, let heaven walk with me, unseen but undeniable, until the evening comes and I lay this armor down, only to rise again tomorrow, ready once more to walk in the strength of your unfailing grace. Father, as I carry the awareness of your armor into the unfolding day, a quiet truth stirs within me. Even protection can become heavy when I forget that strength is not meant to be carried alone. The battles I face are not always loud or visible. Sometimes they are the silent wars against my own striving. The endless reaching to prove myself worthy of what you have already freely given. I feel how easily I return to burdens you never asked me to lift. I call them duty, responsibility, even faithfulness. But you know the difference. You see the moments when I turn obedience into exhaustion, when I confuse calling with control. Lord, I hear your invitation echoing in my heart, soft but certain. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. It is not a command born of pity, but of love. You do not simply tell me to stop working. You offer me a new way of carrying. You speak of a yoke not of restriction, but of alignment, two walking as one, sharing the same direction, the same pace. That is what I long for today, not freedom without guidance, but companionship without strain. Teach me the art of walking in step with you. There is a rhythm to your grace that I often miss. I run ahead, fueled by good intentions, only to stumble under the weight of my own plans. Yet you move steadily, never hurried, never delayed. You are never overwhelmed by the urgency that rules the world. Your timing flows like a river that refuses to be rushed. If I would only match my pace to yours, I might find rest even in the middle of effort. The yoke that fits does not remove the load it balances. It transforms work from burden into worship. Father, I have carried yokes that were not mine, expectations from others, fears of failure, the need to be everything for everyone. These are the weights that bruise the soul. But when I walk with you, the pressure changes. What once felt heavy begins to feel guided. The direction becomes clearer. The steps lighter, because you bear the weight with me. The work remains, but the worry fades. The path still rises and falls, but I no longer walk it alone. Teach me to recognize when I am slipping out of rhythm, when my heart begins to rush ahead or lag behind. Draw me gently back into sync. Let my obedience be shaped not by panic, but by peace. Let the things I do today, each task, each word, each choice flow from the quiet confidence of one who is yoked with love. I do not want to live reactive. I want to live responsive. I want to move because you move, to pause because you pause, to speak because you whisper. There is a beauty in this partnership. Lord, it is not a contract of labor, but a covenant of presence. You do not walk beside me as a taskmaster, but as a teacher. You guide. You pace. You steady. You show me that rest is not idleness, but trust in motion. The world glorifies striving, but you glorify surrender. You remind me that gentleness is stronger than force, that humility carries more power than pride. You teach me that joy is found not in doing more, but in being aligned with you in whatever I do. When I look around, I see so many carrying invisible yokes too heavy to name. Their shoulders stoop under unseen expectations. Their hearts bend beneath perfection's demands. Let me be a reminder of a different way. Let my calm speak louder than ambition, my kindness louder than my competence. Let me offer rest where others feel rushed, patience where others feel pressure. If I have learned anything from you, let it be this: that real strength is gentle, and true leadership begins with peace. God, sometimes I worry that slowing down will mean falling behind. But you remind me that nothing truly mine can be lost when I walk with you. The world may measure time by speed, but you measure it by surrender. Each step taken with you is never wasted. Each pause in your presence is an investment in eternity. Let me release the illusion that more effort equals more fruit. Let me trust that abiding will always bear greater harvest than striving. When weariness creeps in, whisper to me again that the yoke I wear is not punishment, it is partnership. Let the awareness of your closeness steady my breathing, slow my racing thoughts, and anchor me in the now. You are not just near. You are moving with me. Every burden I hand to you becomes lighter, because your strength is not divided, is infinite. So as this day unfolds, let my soul move with quiet confidence, knowing that I am yoked to the one who knows the terrain ahead. Let every step remind me that grace has its own pace, and that hurry is never holy. Let me carry responsibility with serenity, effort with ease, diligence with delight. The path may be long, but with you beside me, it will never be lonely. And when the evening comes and I look back at the hours gone by, may I not measure success by what I achieved, but by how well I stayed in step with you. For in that steady rhythm of surrender lies the secret of peace, the kind of peace that does not depend on outcomes, but on the quiet certainty that I am walking the right road, yoked to the right shepherd, moving in the strength of a love that never fails. Lord, as the rhythm of your pace steadies my heart, I begin to understand that walking with you is not only about movement, but also about the sacred pauses in between. There are moments when the path slows to silence, when progress feels invisible, when every sound fades except the steady pulse of waiting. It is in those pauses that faith learns its truest language, the language of stillness. I used to fill silence with words, with plans, with prayers tangled in anxiety. But you are teaching me that stillness is not emptiness. It is presence without noise, trust without demand. Father, there is a holiness in the quiet that the world cannot comprehend. It feels unfamiliar at first, almost uncomfortable, because I have grown accustomed to measuring purpose by activity. Yet you, the creator of all that moves, are also the keeper of the still moment. You do not rush the sunrise, nor do you force the river to run faster. Everything in creation follows your tempo slow. Steady, sure. Perhaps stillness is not the absence of progress, but the art of aligning my pace with yours. You have shown me that sometimes the greatest faith is not found in the shout of victory, but in the whisper of surrender, when I stop striving to make things happen and simply rest in your timing. Something shifts inside me. My restlessness begins to lose its grip. My heart learns how to listen, how to breathe again without panic. Stillness becomes the place where your voice finds me, not as thunder shaking the earth, but as a gentle wind brushing through my soul. Lord, teach me to love this quiet space, not as a detour, as divine design. Help me to remember that silence is not inactivity, it is incubation. Just as seeds are nurtured beneath the soil, unseen but alive, so too are your plans taking root in moments that feel uneventful. In the stillness, you are preparing strength for the journey ahead, healing wounds that noise would reopen, building clarity that business would blur. Let me not despise the pause. Let me dwell in it until peace becomes my first language. There are times when I mistake silence for distance, when I feel as though you are far away because you are not speaking in ways I expect. Yet even the silence carries your presence. The quiet is not your absence. It is your invitation to draw closer. You are not withholding words. You are deepening listening. In stillness, you teach me that prayer is not always speaking, it is being near you without performance, being honest without pretense, being still enough for my soul to catch its breath. Father, in this stillness I begin to hear what the noise of life hides, the rhythm of my own heart sensing with yours. Every inhale becomes an act of faith, every exhale a release of control. You meet me in this rhythm, reminding me that I am sustained not by what I do, but by who you are. I am not defined by the speed of my progress, but by the depth of my trust. You call me to rest not because you want less from me, but because you want more for me, more peace, more awareness, more presence. I confess that waiting is hard. My flesh wants resolution. My mind wants results. But you are not a God of haste. You move at the pace of eternity, unhurried yet perfectly timed. When I wait in you, I am not standing still. I am being shaped. Waiting refines what rushing distorts. It turns impatience into wisdom, fear into focus, striving into surrender. In the stillness, I am reminded that you are working even when I cannot see movement. There is a quiet confidence that grows here, a faith that no longer demands constant reassurance. It is a deep knowing that if you are silent, it is not neglect, it is nurture, just as the stars shine without sound. Your faithfulness continues without announcement. Let me rest in that certainty. Let me learn to be content in the unspoken assurance that you are near. God, let this stillness transform how I live today. Let my words carry fewer defenses and more depth. Let my actions be rooted, not rushed. Let me move through the world with the calm authority of one who knows they are guided, even in conversations and decisions. Let me carry the hush of your peace within me. Stillness is not withdrawal, it is wisdom, moving slowly through the noise. And when the world tries to drag me back into chaos, Teach me to return here again to this holy hush where I remember who I am and whose I am. Teach me to close my eyes, even in crowded places, and find this sanctuary inside. Let stillness become my posture, not my pause, my way of being, not my moment of escape. There is beauty in the unseen work you are doing now, Lord, the unseen growth, the unseen preparation, the unseen alignment. I trust that when the time comes to move again, the path will be clear and my spirit ready. Until then, I will wait in this sacred quiet, knowing that stillness is not the absence of your power. It is the proof of it. For only a God so certain of his sovereignty can speak through silence and still make everything new. So I remain here, breathing in this calm, aware of your nearness that requires no sound, no sign, no proof. The stillness holds you, and you hold me. In this quiet, I find rest not because everything is settled, but because you are. And that is enough for today. Father, as stillness settles deeper into my soul, I begin to sense what has been missing, not more strength, not more direction, but more gratitude. The quiet you have led me into has cleared enough space for thankfulness to rise. It comes gently, like dawn spreading its light across the fields of my heart. I see now how gratitude is not a feeling I must chase. It is a presence I must notice. It has always been here, waiting beneath the noise, whispering through the ordinary, calling me to sit at its table and remember that I am already surrounded by abundance. Lord, every good thing I have begins with you. Yet how often have I rushed past blessings as though they were merely background scenery to the journey? How many answered prayers have I failed to pause and acknowledge because I was already looking toward the next need? But now, in this calm space of awareness, I see the trail of grace behind me, footprints of your kindness marking every season I once called barren. You were there in the laughter I took for granted, in the breath I never thought to count, in the people who loved me when I could not love myself. Gratitude turns the familiar into the miraculous. God, help me live today with eyes that see your goodness hidden in plain sight. Let me find you in the warmth of sunlight through a window, in the rhythm of steady rain, in the smile of a stranger. Let gratitude be not a passing emotion, but a way of perceiving an inner posture that turns ordinary hours into holy ones. Even in difficulty, let me remember that thankfulness does not deny pain. It redefines it. It turns suffering into soil where faith can grow roots. I think of how easily fear and complaint multiply when gratitude is neglected. Worry shrinks the world. Gratitude expands it. When I thank you, even for what I do not yet understand, I feel the boundaries of hope stretch wider. Gratitude does not fix circumstances, but it transforms how I stand within them. It reminds me that life is not measured by what I lack, but by who walks with me. You have never failed me, even when I mistook silence for absence or delays for denial. Every season has carried evidence of your faithfulness. Father, teach me to give thanks not only for what delights me, but also for what develops me. The challenges that sharpen patience, the disappointments that deepen trust, the detours that lead to unseen blessings, these too belong at the table of gratitude. Let me not pick and choose which moments to celebrate. Let me welcome them all, knowing that each holds a fragment of your refining work. Gratitude is not blind optimism. It is sacred clarity, the ability to see grace at work even in the dark. When I look back, I see how many prayers I thought were unanswered, only to discover later that you had answered them differently. Better. Deeper. You withheld what would have wounded me, redirected what would have distracted me, delayed what would have destroyed me. And now I realize that gratitude often grows best in hindsight, when time reveals that what I once called disappointment was actually mercy. I do not want to wait for understanding to be thankful. Teach me to trust your goodness before I can explain it. Lord, there are moments when gratitude feels hard to find, when grief clouds the view, when loss feels louder than love. In those moments, remind me that thankfulness is not a denial of sorrow, but declaration of perspective, even in pain. There is something to cherish the strength to endure, the people who stand beside me, the hope that refuses to die. Gratitude does not erase grief, it steadies it. It keeps me from drowning in what hurts by anchoring me to what remains true. Let my thankfulness spill into how I live, not just what I say. Let me express gratitude not only through words, but through kindness freely given. Let me be generous because I know what it means to receive. Let me forgive because I have been forgiven. Let me love without calculation, because I have been loved without limit. When I practice gratitude, I am reminded that everything I have is borrowed, everything I hold is grace, and every breath is a reason to give it back through compassion. God, I want to make thanksgiving the rhythm of my days, not reserved for moments of triumph, but woven into the quiet fabric of each hour. Before I ask, let me acknowledge. Before I complain, let me consider. Before I rush, let me remember. The heart that gives thanks cannot remain anxious for long, because gratitude and fear cannot breathe the same air. Gratitude teaches the soul to rest, not because everything is perfect, but because you are present. I imagine sitting at a long table, and before me are all the seasons of my life. Some dishes are sweet with joy, others bitter with loss, others still seasoned with mystery. Yet together they form a feast, a banquet of experience prepared by your hand. You invite me to partake of it all, to taste and see that you are good, even when life has been difficult. Gratitude allows me to eat from every dish without resentment, trusting that even the bitter has its purpose. So, Father, as I step into this new day, let my first words not be requests, but recognition. Let gratitude become my morning prayer, my midday rhythm, my evening reflection. Let it color my speech, soften my thoughts, and shape my choices. When I live in thankfulness, I am closest to truth. For gratitude is the language of those who see clearly. It turns moments into miracles and reminds me that, even now, in this very breath, I have more than enough to call this day holy. Lord, as gratitude settles into my spirit like warm light on quiet water, I begin to sense that true thankfulness does not end in emotion, it blossoms into transformation. The more I recognize how freely you have given, the more I long to reflect that same grace in how I treat others. It is not enough to speak of love. I must become its expression. And so, Father, as I carry the awareness of your goodness into the world, teach me the strength of gentleness. Let it be the posture of my heart, the language of my hands, the way I walk through this day. You know how the world often mistakes gentleness for weakness, how it praises sharpness over softness, volume over restraint. But you, Lord, have always moved differently. You touch the leper before healing him. You wash the feet of those who would later abandon you. You restore the fallen with tenderness rather than shame. There is no strength greater than the one that remains calm in the face of chaos. Let me learn that kind of strength, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that dignifies. Father, I confess that gentleness does not come naturally to me. My pride wants to prove. My fear wants to defend. My frustration wants to control. Yet I know now that these are reactions born from insecurity, not power. True power rests in peace. It flows from a heart anchored in you, unshaken by insult, unmoved by provocation. Teach me to pause before I speak, to breathe before I judge, to listen before I answer. Let my words be slow enough for love to shape them. The strength of gentleness is not found in silence, but in the tone of truth. It corrects without crushing. It confronts without condemning. It sees others not as threats to win against, but as souls to understand. Lord, help me see the people I meet today through your eyes, each one carrying unseen stories. Private battles. Quiet wounds. Let my kindness become a mirror through which they catch a glimpse of your mercy. Let me respond to harshness with calmness, to impatience with grace, to indifference with warmth. You once said that the meek would inherit the earth, and for years I misunderstood it. I thought meekness meant weakness, submission, defeat. But now I see that meekness is mastery, self-control, guided by compassion, authority balanced by humility. It is the power to respond with peace when everything in me wants to retaliate. Lord, form that meekness in me until it becomes my instinct, not my effort. When anger tempts me, remind me of your patience. When criticism stings, remind me of your forgiveness. When I feel unseen, remind me that you notice every act of quiet kindness. Gentleness is not for applause. It is for alignment with you, with heaven's rhythm, with the way love truly moves. I think of the wind. Father, how it shapes mountains over time without shouting, how it bends trees without breaking them. That is how I want my presence to move through the world. Steady, soft, and strong. Let my influence not be measured by volume, but by depth. Let my presence bring calm, not tension. Let the people around me feel lighter, not smaller, because they have crossed paths with peace. There will be moments today when harshness feels easier, when defending myself feels justified. But in those moments, whisper to my heart that gentleness is not passivity, it is precision. It chooses peace not because it is blind to conflict, but because it sees a higher victory. To respond with calm in the midst of chaos is to declare that my spirit is ruled not by circumstance, but by Christ. Lord, let gentleness begin with how I treat myself. 2. I have been my own harshest critic, demanding perfection where you offer grace. Teach me to speak kindly to my own soul, to forgive myself as freely as you do. The tone I use toward myself often spills onto others. Let the inner voice of my heart be tender, patient, encouraging, reflecting the voice of the one who calls me beloved. As I move through the noise of the day, the clatter of tasks, the collisions of personalities, let gentleness be the atmosphere I carry. Let it shape my responses more than my emotions do. When I am wronged, let forgiveness come faster than resentment. When I am right, let humility speak louder than pride. When I am tired, let compassion remain the language I choose. God, I have learned that gentleness is not natural. It is supernatural. It flows from your spirit living within me. It is the fruit that grows in soil watered by peace and pruned by patience. It cannot be forced, it must be formed. So form it in me, day by day, word by word, encounter by encounter. Let each time I choose gentleness over reaction become a victory of grace over ego. And as the light deepens across the morning, let me remember that you move through the gentle, the whisper, not the windstorm, the small seed, not the spectacle. You accomplish great things through quiet means. Help me believe that I do not need to be loud to be effective, nor seen to be significant. Teach me to trust the quiet strength of love in motion, for it is that gentleness that changes hearts, including my own. So as I step forward, let my footsteps be soft but sure. Let my voice carry peace that cannot be misunderstood. Let my heart remain tender, even when the world around me grows hard. And in all I do today, may the strength of gentleness reveal the power of the one who dwells within me. Father, as I carry the gentleness you have been shaping within me, I begin to feel its natural next step, an inner stirring toward forgiveness. The more I walk in peace, the more I see that peace cannot remain whole while bitterness lingers in hidden corners of the heart. Gratitude softens me, gentleness steadies me, but forgiveness sets me free. It is the door through which love breathes fully again. And so, Lord, as the morning light expands across my thoughts, I ask you to teach me the quiet power of letting go. I used to think forgiveness was an emotion, something I had to feel before I could offer it. But now I know it is an act of will, a choice to release what justice alone cannot heal. It is not forgetting, nor pretending that pain did not matter. It is acknowledging the wound while refusing to let it define me. You, God, have shown this through your own love, mercy that meets betrayal, compassion that outlives rejection. You do not erase wrongs, you redeem them. Help me forgive like that with clarity, not blindness, with strength, not resignation. Lord, you know the weight of what I still carry, the words that cut too deep, the trust that broke, the disappointments that still sting. I confess that part of me wants to hold on to them as proof of how much I have endured, as armor against being hurt again. But in doing so, I have allowed those memories to take up residence where joy should live. Bitterness is a slow poison. It promises protection but delivers paralysis. So here, in this still morning, I open my clenched hands and lay down the fragments I have been clutching. You are safer with my pain than I am. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is spiritual strength disguised as surrender. It takes courage to release what wounded me, to bless what broke me, to love what once disappointed me. I think of how you hung between heaven and earth, bruised and bleeding, and still found breath enough to say, "Father, forgive them." In that moment, forgiveness became the language of eternity. It silenced vengeance and spoke of freedom instead. Teach me to echo that language in my own small ways, to speak mercy even when silence feels easier. Father, I know forgiveness is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a continual releasing. Sometimes the pain resurfaces without warning. A song, a memory, a name, and I must choose again. Help me understand that this is not failure, but faithfulness. That each choice to forgive renews my own healing. Let me remember that forgiveness is not about excusing others. It is about aligning myself with you, the only one capable of turning hurt into wholeness. There are faces, Lord, that come to mind now, some distant, some close, some perhaps unaware of the pain they caused. I name them quietly before you, not to accuse, but to release. They do not owe me peace. You have already given it. Let me bless them, not because they deserve it, but because I desire to be free. And if there are hearts who still hold resentment toward me, soften theirs as you soften mine. Reconciliation may not always come, but redemption always can. God, there is also another person I must forgive: myself, for the choices I regret, for the opportunities I missed, for the times I spoke harshly, loved poorly, or stayed silent when courage was required. I have carried self-blame like a chain disguised as discipline. But you never asked me to punish myself for being human. You asked me to return. Teach me to see myself through the same mercy I extend to others. Let the forgiveness I give inward become the soil where peace can grow outward. When resentment tries to whisper its familiar lies, that justice means retaliation. That forgiveness makes me vulnerable. Remind me that love is the highest form of justice. It restores what anger can only destroy. You have shown me that forgiveness does not change the past. It changes my posture toward it. The story remains the same, but the ending shifts from captivity to freedom. I cannot control what others have done, but I can choose what becomes of my heart. Let forgiveness flow through me today, quietly but persistently. Like a river shaping stone, let it soften my tone when I speak, ease the tension when I listen, and transform conflict into understanding. Let it ripple beyond me, touching those who cross my path. Family, friends, strangers alike. If my presence carries anything into this world, let it be the fragrance of someone who has been forgiven much and therefore loves much. Father, I realize now that forgiveness is not just for relationships. It is for the soul's alignment with heaven. It keeps me light enough to move forward, unburdened by yesterday's shadows. The heart that forgives is a heart that can hear you clearly, for resentment drowns out the sound of grace. When I forgive, I make room for joy to return, for peace to dwell, for purpose to rise again. So, as the day unfolds, let this practice of forgiveness become my quiet revolution. Let me walk through the world unarmed, unguarded, yet fully protected by love. Let me meet offense with understanding, betrayal with compassion, and memory with mercy. For in forgiving, I am not erasing pain, I am reclaiming power. the power to love freely, the power to live unchained, the power to walk lightly in a world that often forgets how. And as the morning light continues to stretch across the horizon, let it remind me that forgiveness, like sunrise, is not a single moment. It is the start of a new day for the soul. Father, as forgiveness clears the weight from my heart, I begin to feel something new rising beneath the quiet, a stirring that feels like movement after long stillness. It is as though the act of letting go has created space for direction, for purpose. I sense you calling me towards something, not with thunder or command, but with that same soft certainty that whispers, "Follow me." It is here that I realize peace is not meant to make me comfortable. It is meant to make me courageous. And so, Lord, teach me this morning the sacred strength of obedience, the courage to say yes when it matters most. Obedience has always frightened me. It asks for trust without full understanding, for action without guarantee. It requires walking where logic hesitates and believing when evidence is thin. Yet every time I have obeyed, even trembling, I have discovered that your path is not one of control, but of communion. You do not demand submission to crush my will. You invite alignment so that my will might live again under the rhythm of yours. What you ask of me is not blind compliance, it is relational courage. Lord, I have seen how fear disguises itself as caution, how doubt dresses up as wisdom, how hesitation hides behind humility. But deep down, I know when hesitation is really disobedience wearing a polite face. You have not called me to endless waiting when faith requires stepping. You have not asked me to analyze every outcome when love simply says move. Give me discernment, Father, to know the difference between stillness born of trust and delay born of fear. There are moments when I long for certainty, for visible confirmation before I take the next step. But you rarely give maps, only direction. You ask me to lift my foot before you show me the ground. This, I am learning, is the essence of faith, not to see and then follow, but to follow and then see. The courage to obey does not come from confidence in myself, but from confidence in your character. If you are good, then obedience will always lead somewhere good, even when the road feels rough. God, I remember times you called me to forgive when I wanted to fight, to speak when I wanted to stay silent, to stay when I wanted to run. In each of those moments, obedience felt small but sacred. It was never grand or dramatic, but it changed me quietly. Each yes chipped away at fear. Each step deepened trust. You build courage through obedience the way a craftsman shapes wood, one deliberate cut at a time. Sometimes obedience costs comfort. It asks me to love people who may never return kindness. It asks me to give when resources are thin, to trust when answers are delayed, to believe when miracles seem unlikely. Yet each act of obedience rewrites the boundaries of my fear. It teaches my heart that safety is not found in control, but in surrender. The more I yield, the freer I become. Father, remind me that obedience is not a performance, but a partnership. You are not testing my loyalty. You are inviting me into the flow of divine purpose. Every time I listen and act, I participate in something eternal, something far greater than my limited understanding. You weave my small yeses into a tapestry of grace that touches lives beyond my sight, even the unseen acts, kind words. Quiet prayers. Hidden sacrifices become threads of light in your design. Lord, I confess that sometimes obedience feels lonely. When others do not understand, when results seem distant, when the path narrows, I question whether I have heard you correctly. But you remind me that obedience was never meant to win applause. The road of faith has always been less traveled. The silence of others does not mean abandonment. It is often the sacred space where intimacy with you deepens. Let my motivation be love, not recognition. Faithfulness, not validation. There are also moments when obedience demands patience more than action. Waiting when I want to run forward can be the hardest kind of yes. Teach me to obey not just through doing, but through trusting. When you say not yet, help me to understand that delay is not denial. It is preparation. The fruit of obedience grows slowly, ripening in hidden places before it is seen. Let me not rush what you are still forming. Father, obedience begins where comfort ends. Yet it is also the place where miracles begin. You did not part the sea until the people stepped into it. You did not multiply bread until someone offered it. You did not raise Lazarus until the stone was rolled away. Every act of obedience opens the way for your power to move. Let that truth be written into the rhythm of my heart. Let me walk in expectation, not fear, believing that wherever I follow you, grace will meet me there. Today, as I enter into the flow of ordinary moments, let obedience not be an event, but an attitude. Let it live in my words, in my timing, in how I respond to interruptions. Let me be quick to act when love nudges, quick to forgive when pride resists, quick to pause when impatience pushes. Let my life be a conversation between your voice and my willingness to answer. God, if obedience feels costly today, remind me of the cross, that perfect act divine yes, which redefined history. If my obedience feels unseen, remind me that you see every quiet surrender. If it feels uncertain, remind me that faith does not remove risk, it transforms it into revelation. And if it feels impossible, remind me that you never command without also equipping. The same Spirit that spoke the world into being now whispers courage into my bones. So I rise from this moment, not to chase achievement, but to live in agreement. Let my yes echo softly but steadily through this day. Let it ripple into the lives I touch, into the decisions I make, into the unseen corners where faith is tested. For obedience is not just what I do, it is who I am becoming. And as I walk forward into the light of morning, I know that every step of trust leads me deeper into the heart of the one who calls. Father, obedience has taught me to move, but trust teaches me to stay. As I carry the courage of obedience into this new stretch of morning, I feel you asking something deeper, not just my willingness to act, but my willingness to wait. It is one thing to say yes when the path is visible. It is another to say yes when the road disappears into fog. Obedience takes strength, but trust requires surrender. It is the quiet discipline of resting in what I cannot control, believing in what I cannot yet see, and holding peace where logic demands panic. Lord, I have often mistaken trust for passivity, as though waiting meant doing nothing. But you are showing me that trust is its own kind of motion, a steady, inward leaning toward your faithfulness. It is not idleness. It is alignment. It is choosing to stand in confidence while everything around me insists on fear. To trust you is to choose stillness without stagnation, peace without proof, faith without forecast. And though my mind resists it, my soul recognizes this rhythm as truth. There are days when trust feels like walking on water, each step uncertain, each wave threatening to swallow faith whole. Yet you never asked me to understand the sea. You asked me to keep my eyes on you. Trust is not about the absence of storm. It is about the presence of focus. As long as I look at you, the waves lose their voice. They still rise, but they no longer rule. You remain the steady horizon that holds me upright. Father, you have brought me through seasons that taught me to obey when it hurt, to forgive when it was undeserved, to love when it was inconvenient. But now you are teaching me to trust when nothing makes sense. This is the slow, sacred school of faith, the one that strips away certainty until all that remains is confidence in your character. You are good, even when outcomes are unclear. You are present, even when you seem silent. You are working, even when I cannot trace your hand. I confess, Lord, that I still wrestle with anxiety in the waiting. My heart likes to write timelines, to draft conclusions, to predict how your promises will unfold. Yet every time I do, I find myself exhausted by disappointment. You never asked me to manage outcomes. You asked me to manage my focus. The waiting is not wasted. It is where trust grows roots deep enough to hold me through every storm. In the soil of uncertainty, faith is refined. Sometimes, trust looks like doing the same faithful thing day after day, even when results are invisible. It is the prayer whispered when answers seem delayed, the kindness offered when gratitude is absent, the hope carried when evidence is scarce. The world calls this foolishness, but you call it worship. For what greater act of love is there than to trust the unseen hand that holds all things together? God, teach me to rest not only in your promises, but in your presence. Promises point me forward, but presence anchors me now. When my thoughts race toward the future, pull me back to the grace of this moment. The sunrise itself is a sermon reminding me that what you begin, you sustain. The same light that breaks the dark every morning will also guide me through my own shadowed places. Let that be enough. There is a quiet strength that comes when I stop demanding explanations and start choosing expectation. Trust transforms waiting into worship. It turns anxiety into anticipation. It turns silence into space for revelation. You are not delaying. You are developing. And though my timeline trembles, your timing stands perfect, unmoved by haste, unhurried by pressure. Heaven never rushes what is eternal. Father, when doubt begins to creep in, remind me of the stones of remembrance scattered throughout my journey, the answered prayers I once thought were impossible. The deliverance that came at the final moment, the mercy that met me when I was sure I had fallen too far. Each memory is a monument to your reliability. If you were faithful then, you are faithful now. If you carried me through the storm before, you will not abandon me in this stillness. Help me trust you with what I cannot fix, with what I cannot predict, with what I cannot understand. Teach me to place not just my future, but my fears in your hands. Let me live today not by sight, but by steady surrender. Let my trust be active, expressed through patience, kindness, integrity, and quiet confidence. Let others see peace where they expect panic and wonder at the source of my calm. Lord, sometimes trusting you means holding on to promises that feel like seeds buried in soil too deep for sunlight. Days pass with no sign of growth, and I am tempted to dig them up in worry. But you whisper, leave them be. They are doing their work beneath the surface. So I choose today to keep watering what I cannot yet see, believing that every seed of faith will bloom in its appointed season. There is beauty, Father, in trusting you without needing to know how things will unfold. It is the freedom of a child holding a parent's hand, unsure of the path, but certain of the presence. That is how I want to live, unconcerned with maps, confident in companionship. I may not know the destination, but I know who walks beside me, and that is enough. So this morning, as the light strengthens and the world awakens, I will choose to walk in quiet trust, not because everything is clear, but because you are constant, not because the waiting is over, because you are worthy even in the waiting. I will trust you with open hands and steady heart, not striving for control, but surrendering to peace. And in this surrender, I find strength, not the strength of certainty, but the deeper strength of faith resting fully in you. Father, as trust becomes the steady rhythm of my heart, I realize that faith is not only for the bright and peaceful places. It is also for the valleys, the quiet shadows, where light seems slow to arrive. You have not promised a path free of sorrow, but you have promised your presence through every step. I used to pray that you would keep me from the valley. Now I pray that you will meet me in it. For even here, in the dim spaces where comfort feels distant, you are near. Your light is not absent, it is simply learning to glow from within. Lord, I once believed valleys were punishments, detours, evidence of failure. But you are teaching me that valleys are classrooms of the soul. On the mountaintop, faith celebrates. In the valley, faith matures. Here, every echo becomes a lesson. Every tear becomes prayer. Every silence becomes invitation. The valley strips away illusions, leaving only what is true, that you alone are enough. I do not need to understand the reason for the shadow, to trust the one who walks beside me through it. God, I can feel how you shape me through this terrain. The sun cannot always shine on the same side of the mountain. Sometimes it must dip low so that roots can grow deep. I have learned more from nights of uncertainty than from days of clarity. It is here, where comfort ends and surrender begins, that faith stops being theory and becomes relationship. The valley is not where I am abandoned, it is where I am known most deeply. There are moments, Father, when pain feels too heavy to name, when prayers come out as sighs, and silence feels safer than speech. Yet even in those moments, you interpret what I cannot articulate. You gather every wordless act and weave it into something redemptive. My cries do not fall into emptiness. They fall into your hands, You are not a distant observer to my suffering. You are the unseen companion who bears it with me. I think of the shepherd again, how he leads his flock not around the valley, but through it. The shortest way to green pastures often passes through shadowed paths. The rod and staff that comfort me in the dark are not signs of punishment, but symbols of protection. The same hands that anoint my head with oil also guide me through terrain I would never choose. Even in the valley, goodness follows me not loudly, but faithfully, like footsteps echoing behind me. Lord, when fear begins to rise in these dim places, teach me to remember your past faithfulness. The same light that led me yesterday still exists, even if hidden for a time. The darkness does not mean it has vanished. It only means I must look for it differently. Sometimes it shines through memory. Sometimes it flickers through the kindness of others. Sometimes it glows faintly within my own soul, reminding me that the Spirit's flame cannot be extinguished by circumstance. You have shown me that valleys are not voids, they are wombs where new strength is formed. Here, compassion deepens because I have felt weakness. Patience grows because I have waited. Wisdom blooms because I have wrestled. Pain, though unwelcome, becomes a teacher that points me back to dependence. When I emerge from the valley, I do not come out the same. I come out softer, truer, and more alive. Father, help me not to rush through what was meant to reshape me. I do not want to waste this darkness by wishing it away. Let me listen to what it has come to teach. Show me that even loss is language, even grief holds grace. Remind me that you do not waste wounds. You use them to carve deeper spaces within me where your love can dwell. Sometimes I see others walking through their own valleys, and my heart aches for them. Give me eyes to notice, words to comfort, silence to honor. Let my empathy not end in pity, but move into presence the same kind you offer me. Teach me how to sit beside pain without needing to fix it, to hold space where healing has not yet come. The valley teaches compassion, the mountaintop cannot. Let my life become a sanctuary for those still finding their way through shadow. God, there are moments when I wonder how long valleys last. Time slows here, and hope feels fragile. Yet you whisper that seasons are sacred. There is an appointed time for everything: the rising, the resting, the rejoicing, and yes, the refining. The valley will not last forever, but while I am in it, let me find beauty in small things. The way light filters softly through the cracks. The resilience of life that grows even in low places. The quiet strength of a heart that refuses to give up. You remind me that resurrection cannot happen without burial. The seed must first descend into darkness before breaking open toward the light. So, too, must I sometimes be hidden before being made whole. What looks like loss may only be transformation wearing its early disguise. Let me not curse the soil that is nourishing unseen growth. Let me trust that what feels buried today will one day bloom again in brilliance. Father, if I must walk through shadows, let me walk with reverence. Let me remember that this valley, too, belongs to you. The same hands that painted the morning sky also shaped this hollow ground. You are not only God of heights, You are God of depths. You inhabit every contour of my experience, every tear that falls, every moment I think I am alone. You are the quiet light that does not need to be seen to be real. So I will not fear the valley. I will walk through it slowly, eyes open, heart listening, hands lifted not in despair but in trust. I will let the silence speak, the shadows teach, and the unseen hand guide me forward. For even here, perhaps especially here, you are with me, and the light that once seemed lost begins to rise again. Not from the horizon, but from within, glowing steady and sure, illuminating every step with the quiet promise that I am never alone. Father, as I walk out of the valley with slow but steady steps, I realize that what has changed most is not the landscape around me, but the way I see it. The air feels lighter now, though the mountains still rise in the distance. The same sun that once seemed hidden behind the clouds now feels near again, gentle, not blinding, and I understand. Hope was not something I lost in the darkness. It was something being remade within me. You have taken what was fragile and reshaped it into something resilient. You have turned endurance into expectation. This, Lord, is the quiet renewal of hope. Hope used to feel like striving, a desperate reaching for what seemed out of grasp. I thought it depended on outcomes, on circumstances finally shifting in my favor. But you have shown me that real hope is not wishful thinking. It is sacred confidence. It does not deny reality, but insists on grace within it. It is the still flame that refuses to go out. Even when the wind is fierce, it burns low sometimes, but it never disappears because you breathe it back to life each time I turn toward you, God. There was a season when I mistook numbness for peace, when I thought surviving was enough, but now I see that you did not call me merely to endure. You called me to live expectantly again, to wake each morning not with dread, but with quiet wonder, to believe that good things can still unfold, that restoration can still bloom, that your promises are not bound by time or my limitations. Hope does not erase pain, but it redeems it. It reminds me that nothing is wasted in your hands, not even heartbreak. Father, you are teaching me that hope grows best in honest soil. It does not thrive in denial, but in the raw ground of truth. It begins when I admit my weariness, my doubts, my unmet longings, and still choose to trust. You do not despise my weakness. You plant hope right in the middle of it. You turn tears into water for new beginnings. You turn my waiting into wombs of creation. Every delay that once felt cruel becomes a season of preparation for something I could not yet carry. Lord, sometimes hope looks small, like a single thread holding everything together. Other times it stretches wide, like a sunrise breaking over a quiet world, but whether it glows faintly or blazes strong, its source is the same you. You are not the giver of temporary optimism. You are the anchor of eternal hope. When everything else wavers, you remain steady, unchanging, constant. Even when my faith flickers, your faithfulness does not. That truth alone gives me courage to hope again. There are moments, God, when disappointment still whispers that hope is dangerous, that it will only lead to heartbreak. Yet I hear your gentle correction, that hope is not naive, It is brave. It is not built on guarantees, but on relationship. To hope in you is not to ignore pain, but to believe that pain will not have the final word. It is to stand in the tension between what is and what will be, trusting that both are held together by grace. I look back on the valley and see how subtly you have been restoring me, not through grand gestures, but through quiet consistencies, the way morning always follows night, the way small kindnesses appeared at just the right time, the way my heart began to breathe again before I even noticed. Hope did not arrive with a trumpet. It returned with a whisper. It came through moments of laughter that surprised me, through the steady rhythm of prayer, through the quiet comfort of knowing you were near even when you seemed silent. Father, I do not want to rush past this rebirth of hope. I want to honor its slow return, to nurture it like something precious and living. Let me feed it with gratitude, water it with trust, and guard it from cynicism. Let me remember that hope is not fragile when rooted in you. It may bend, but it will not break. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the grave breathes within me, and that power makes despair impossible to settle in permanently. Hope, I am learning, is not an escape from reality. It is the strength to remain present in it. It is the courage to open my heart again after disappointment, to believe again after failure, to love again after loss. It teaches me that beginnings can rise from endings, that light can return to places once declared dead. Hope is not a denial of what hurts. It is the declaration that love is still greater. Lord, help me to become a carrier of hope for others. Let my words lift instead of wound. Let my actions speak possibility into weary hearts. When I encounter those who have forgotten how to believe in goodness, let my presence remind them that renewal is still possible. I do not need to fix their pain. I only need to reflect the quiet assurance that you are still near. For hope spreads best not through preaching, but through presence, through the gentle confidence of one who has walked through shadow and still found light. Father, I see now that hope is not the absence of struggle, but the fruit of endurance. It grows in the soil of persistence, watered by unseen tears, nourished by grace that never gives up. It is both gift and discipline, a choice renewed daily. Sometimes hourly, it whispers through fear. Keep walking. Keep believing. Keep breathing. And each time I do, it grows a little stronger. As this morning stretches forward, I feel the quiet hum of hope inside me, a warmth that no circumstance can extinguish. It does not promise that life will be easy, but it promises that it will be meaningful. It does not remove uncertainty, but it transforms it into expectation. It teaches me that every day is a doorway for grace to enter anew. So I lift my eyes again, not to escape what lies ahead, but to embrace it. The valley behind me has not vanished, but it no longer defines me. I walk now not as one searching for light, but as one carrying it. For hope has taken root in me, and its glow soft yet steady guides my steps into this unfolding day, reminding me that the God who restores is the same God who remains. Father, as hope takes root within me, I begin to feel its quiet transformation giving birth to something even deeper, joy, not the fleeting kind that rises and fades with circumstance, but the kind that settles in like sunlight warming the soil after rain. It does not shout, it sings softly beneath everything else. Like a melody woven through the fabric of living. This joy does not depend on what I hold. It flows from who holds me. It is not the absence of sorrow, but the presence of you within it. Lord, I once believed joy was something to be found only on the other side of victory. I thought it arrived after prayers were answered, after pain had passed, after life looked whole again. But you are showing me that joy is not a destination, it is a companion. It walks with me through the valley as much as it dances with me on the mountaintop. It blooms in the soil of gratitude, watered by trust, nourished by hope. It does not erase pain, but it outlives it. There was a time when I mistook happiness for joy. Happiness depended on circumstance, fragile as glass, easily shattered by disappointment. But joy, Lord, is unbreakable. It weaves itself through tears and laughter alike. It is not loud or showy. It is quiet resilience, a sacred defiance against despair. It whispers that grace still holds me, even when the world trembles. It is the echo of heaven in a weary heart. Father, I can feel that joy beginning to rise like dawn within me, not because everything is perfect, but because everything belongs to you. The pieces that once felt scattered now form a pattern I could not see before. The waiting, the wounds, the weariness, all of it has become part of a larger story of redemption. You have not wasted a single moment. Every sorrow planted in surrender is now bearing fruit. And that fruit is joy. You have taught me that joy is not born from abundance, but from alignment. It grows when my heart rests in rhythm with yours. It comes when I stop striving to make life fit my will and begin to delight in yours. The more I release control, the freer joy becomes to move through me. It is not something I achieve. It is something I allow. It does not need me to chase it. It simply needs me to make room for it. Lord, I remember how the night once felt endless, how laughter seemed a foreign sound. Yet now, even the smallest things stir gratitude in me, a warm light through the window, the sound of breath steady and sure, the softness of a morning breeze. Joy hides in ordinary things, waiting to be noticed. The world is still imperfect, but my vision has changed. I see beauty not in the absence of flaws, but in the presence of grace that fills them. You remind me, Father, that joy is not something to keep. It is something to give away. It multiplies in motion. When I speak kindness, it grows. When I forgive, it deepens. When I serve, it strengthens. The joy you give is not selfish, it seeks expression. Let my life today be an instrument through which joy can move freely. Let it show up in my tone, in my patience, in the way I look at people with compassion instead of judgment. Let it be quiet but unmistakable, like fragrance carried on the wind. God, I confess there are still moments when joy feels fragile, when the noise of life tries to drown it out. But even then, I know it is not gone, it is simply buried, waiting for stillness to uncover it again. The same spirit that breathes peace into chaos is the one who renews joy when it flickers low, when weariness visits. Let me remember that joy is not a feeling to maintain. but a truth to return to. It is always there, waiting under the surface, ready to rise again with a single whisper of gratitude. Sometimes, Lord, joy looks like laughter that comes after tears, like light breaking through clouds, like courage found in weakness. Other times, it is quiet or simply contentment in knowing that I am loved. It does not need celebration to exist. It needs awareness. Teach me to recognize its presence, to honor it even in simplicity. For joy is not rare, it is simply overlooked by hearts too busy to feel. Father, let joy not only live in me, but flow through me into the lives of others. Let it become a refuge for those caught in heaviness, a reminder that light still exists even in their darkness. Help me carry joy not as a performance, but as a peace that others can rest beside. When people encounter me, let them sense not my strength, but your joy steady, healing, and alive. You have turned mourning into movement, grief into gratitude, pain into perspective. What once felt like loss now shimmers with meaning. This is the harvest of joy, not a reward for escaping hardship, but the fruit of remaining faithful through it. It is the quiet laughter that grows from trust, the calm that comes from knowing you waste nothing. Every seed of sorrow I surrendered has become a field of light, and in that field I stand now grateful, grounded, renewed. Lord, this joy I feel is not shallow, it is sacred. It is not the absence of storms, but the assurance that I can dance in the rain. It is not denial. It is defiance, the holy kind that says love still wins. This joy does not promise that pain will never come again, but it promises that pain will never reign again. It reminds me that every dawn will always follow night, and that even in the longest shadow, your presence is still light. So as this day unfolds, I will carry this quiet, enduring joy with me, not as a shield to hide behind, but as a flame to share. I will walk through the world knowing that every act of kindness is a spark, every word of encouragement a candle, every prayer a sunrise in someone's night. And as I move through the hours ahead, I will remember that joy is not something I chase. It is something I become when I live rooted in you, the one who turns every valley into a song, every tear into a seed, and every morning into a new beginning. Father, as joy settles deep within me like sunlight that lingers long after dawn, I begin to sense its purpose unfolding. True joy does not stay contained. It stretches outward, reaching for others. It matures into compassion. The more I taste your goodness, the more I ache for others to know it too. The heart that has been healed cannot help but become a vessel of healing. And so, Lord, as I step into this new morning, let compassion be the fruit that grows from the joy you have planted. Compassion is not mere sympathy. It is love in motion. It is the willingness to feel another's pain without turning away, to see beyond what is visible, to respond not with judgment but with mercy. You have taught me that compassion is not weakness, it is the reflection of your strength. It is the courage to enter another's suffering without fear of being consumed by it, trusting that your grace will sustain both giver and receiver. It is the language of heaven spoken through human hearts. Lord, I remember how you walked among the broken, how you paused for the forgotten, how you wept with those who mourned. You never saw interruptions, only invitations. Every cry was sacred to you. Every need was personal. You did not heal from a distance. You knelt. You touched. You stayed. Teach me to love like that, not in grand gestures, but in small acts of quiet mercy. Let my compassion not be limited to convenience, but shaped by conviction. There are moments, Father, when I am tempted to protect myself from the world's pain. It feels easier to stay detached, to keep my heart guarded behind layers of caution. But you did not call me to a safe love. You called me to a surrendered one. Real compassion costs something. It stretches. It risks. It bleeds. Yet in that offering, I find the deepest connection to you. For every time I stoop to lift another, I meet you again in the act of grace. God, I see now that compassion is not only about easing the suffering of others. It is also about recognizing the humanity we share. When I choose compassion, I am reminded that we are all fragments of the same creation, held together by your breath. The stranger, the friend, the enemy, the forgotten all carry traces of your image. To love them is to honor you. Let me not categorize who deserves my kindness. Let compassion flow freely, as it does from you, without condition. Sometimes compassion means giving, but other times it means simply being present. A quiet listener, a steady presence, a heart that does not need to fix, but simply to hold. Teach me to discern when words are healing and when silence is sacred. Remind me that empathy is not weakness, is the strength to sit in another's darkness without losing sight of the light. Father, open my eyes to the suffering that hides in plain sight, the weary smile that masks despair, the confident voice that trembles beneath its tone, the anger that is really heartbreak disguised as defense. Help me to see beyond behavior into the ache beneath it. Let me not rush to label, but to understand. Compassion begins when I stop seeing others as problems to solve and start seeing them as people to love. There are times, Lord, when my compassion feels small compared to the world's pain. The needs are endless, the brokenness vast. But you remind me that compassion is not about fixing everything. It is about being faithful in the small. A gentle word can steady a soul. A kind glance can lift a spirit. A single act of love can ripple far beyond what I can see. The impact is not mine to measure. It is yours to multiply. God, help me also to remember compassion for myself. The heart that shows mercy to others must learn to receive it too. Forgive me for the times I have withheld grace from my own soul. Teach me to rest in the truth that I am not valuable because I am useful, but because I am yours. The same gentleness I extend to others is the gentleness you offer me daily. Let that kindness restore what exhaustion has drained. Let it remind me that compassion is not depletion. It is divine exchange, your strength flowing through my surrender. Father, make me attentive to the quiet opportunities you place before me today. Let compassion guide my reactions when I am tested. Let patience temper my voice when frustration rises. Let kindness interrupt my plans when someone needs my attention. Let forgiveness come quicker than offense. Let mercy rewrite every moment that pride would otherwise claim. And when compassion feels heavy, remind me that it is never mine to carry alone. You are the source from which all mercy flows. I am not the well. I am the vessel. You pour. I overflow. The love that moves through me does not diminish. It renews. It replenishes the very heart that gives it away. There is a quiet miracle that happens, Lord, when compassion becomes my posture. The world around me begins to shift, not because it is perfect, but because it is seen. Light enters where judgment once stood. Grace fills the cracks that anger left behind. Love becomes possible again. This is how heaven touches earth, not through power or prestige, but through compassion lived out in ordinary lives. So as I go forward into this day, let me be mindful that every encounter is sacred ground. Every person I meet carries a story I do not know and a pain I cannot see. Let me approach each one with reverence. Let compassion be the lens through which I see the world, the rhythm by which I move, the language through which I speak, and as I do, may I become a reflection of you, the God who bends low to lift, who listens before speaking, who loves without condition, and who teaches hearts like mine to see the divine in every human face. Father, compassion has taught me the beauty of giving, but now you are teaching me something even deeper, the power that lies in surrender. I used to believe strength meant holding on, standing tall, proving capable. But in your presence, I am learning that real strength often looks like release. It is the courage to open my hands, to unclench what I cannot control, to trust that when I let go, I do not lose. I am not falling into emptiness. I am falling into you, Lord. Surrender is not defeat. It is not resignation or weakness. It is the holy act of agreement, the moment when my will bends toward yours and peace returns. The more I fight to manage what belongs to you, the heavier life feels. The more I yield to your timing, your wisdom, and your way, the lighter my soul becomes. There is freedom in letting go of outcomes, in resting my heart where yours already reigns. God, there are still things I try to hold too tightly, people I fear losing, dreams I struggle to shape, plans that feel too precious to risk. Yet you whisper that everything surrendered to you is safe. What is released into your hands is never wasted. It may not return in the form I expect, but it always returns in the form I need. You are not the taker of good things. You are the keeper of them. You prune only to help me grow. Father, I remember seasons when I begged you to change my situation, not realizing you were trying to change me through it. I wanted rescue. You offered refinement. I asked for control. You offered communion. And though I did not see it then, surrender became the doorway to transformation. The moment I stopped demanding answers was the moment I started hearing your voice again. Surrender cleared the noise of fear so that faith could finally breathe. Sometimes surrender feels like stillness when every instinct tells me to run. It is waiting when I want to act, trusting when I want proof. It is the posture of the soul that believes you are working, even when I cannot see movement. And in that stillness, I discover something sacred you are not asking me to understand. You are asking me to stay rooted in trust, anchored in your goodness, steady in your love. Lord, teach me the rhythm of surrender. Let it not be an occasional act, but a daily breath. Each morning, may I lay my plans at your feet before I pick them up again. Each evening, may I place my worries back into your care before I sleep. Let surrender become the quiet pattern that shapes every decision, every relationship, every response. It is not a moment. It is a lifestyle, a continual yielding that keeps my heart soft and my spirit free. There are days when surrender feels costly, when it means releasing something deeply loved. Yet even then, you remind me that surrender and love are inseparable. To love you fully, I must trust you completely, and trust cannot grow in a clenched fist. So I loosen my grip, one fear at a time, one expectation, one timeline. You are teaching me that faith is not built in certainty, but in surrender to mystery. You do not reveal every step because you are calling me to relationship, not routine. Father, help me to remember that surrender does not end with loss. It begins with peace. It clears the soil of my heart so that new things can grow. It removes the weight of self-reliance and replaces it with grace. When I surrender, I trade exhaustion for rest, anxiety for assurance, striving for stillness. What the world calls giving up, you call growing up. You are not interested in my perfection. You are shaping my dependence. There are moments when surrender feels like silence, when heaven seems quiet, and I am tempted to believe you have forgotten me. But I have come to understand that your silence is not absence, it is invitation. It calls me deeper into trust, beyond feelings, beyond sight. It invites me to stand on the unseen ground of faith, where my heart learns to echo. Even here, you are good, Lord. I want to surrender not just my struggles, but also my strengths. The things I think I do well, the successes I try to protect. Even good things can become idols if I hold them tighter than I hold you. Let me lay down my accomplishments alongside my failures. Let me remember that everything I have is grace, and grace is never mine to possess. My gifts, my voice, my influence, they belong to you. Let them serve only your purpose, never my pride. God, when I am tempted to take back what I have surrendered, remind me of the peace that comes when I trust you. Remind me that surrender is not a one-time event, but a continuous return. It is not about getting it right. It is about coming back again and again until trust becomes my reflex. When fear tells me to take control, let faith whisper. Release it. When doubt says, "You must fix this," let your spirit remind me, you are not alone. Father, even creation teaches surrender. The tide does not resist the pull of the moon. The tree does not fight the changing seasons. They yield, and in yielding, they flourish. So let me learn from them. Let me rest in the truth that I am held in rhythms greater than my own understanding. The same hands that hold the universe steady also hold my heart secure. I do not need to force what is already in your care. There is a strange strength that comes after surrender, the kind that feels weightless yet grounded, quiet yet unshakable. It is the peace that passes understanding. The confidence born not from control, but from trust. It is the calm assurance that I am not the author of this story, but I am loved by the one who is. And because of that, I can live open-handed, ready to give, ready to receive, ready to follow wherever you lead. So, Lord, as this day unfolds, let surrender be my strength. Let it shape my choices, steady my reactions, and soften my heart. Let me walk freely, unburdened by the illusion of control, and fully alive to the beauty of trust. For I am learning that the greatest power is not in what I hold, but in what I release. And in releasing, I find again what was never lost: your steady presence, your faithful love, and the quiet, unshakable truth that I am already safe in you. Father, after learning the strength of surrender, I find myself entering a stiller place within a quiet calm that does not come from resolution, but from awareness. It is not that all storms have ceased, but that I have discovered you in their center. The wind still blows, yet peace has anchored deeper than fear. I no longer wait for life to calm before I rest. I rest because I know you are here. This is the calm that comes not from circumstance, but from communion. Lord, your presence does not always announce itself with signs and wonders. Sometimes it arrives like a whisper, the soft assurance that fills the room when everything else has fallen silent. I used to search for you in the extraordinary, but now I find you most clearly in the ordinary. In the rhythm of my breath, in the still air before sunrise, in the sound of my heart that beats because you sustain it. Your presence does not demand spectacle. It invites awareness. God, there is a stillness that the world does not understand. It is not apathy or retreat. It is peace that stands unshaken while everything else trembles. It is the unexplainable calm that comes when I choose to dwell with you instead of wrestle against what I cannot change. In that quiet, I remember that I am never alone. The same spirit that hovered over the chaos at creation now hovers over my soul, bringing order where there was confusion and light where there was shadow. Sometimes, Father, I rush through life so quickly that I forget the sacredness of silence. I fill every space with noise, tasks, thoughts, distractions, because silence feels too revealing. Yet it is in silence that I meet you most honestly. When words fade and defenses drop, your voice rises not loud, but steady. You do not need to shout because you are near. Every pause becomes prayer. Every breath a reminder that I am sustained not by my strength, but by your nearness. Lord, I am beginning to see that your presence is not something to be earned or summoned. It is something to be noticed. You have never left. I have only looked elsewhere. When my heart wanders into worry, I lose sight of you. But when I stop striving and turn inward toward the quiet center of my soul, I find you waiting, patient as always. You are not far above the chaos. You are within it, whispering peace to every trembling part of me. Father, I used to think your peace was fragile, something easily broken by circumstance, but now I see that it is not peace that leaves, it is my attention that shifts. Your peace is constant, steady as the tide. It is I who drift, Yet every time I return, I find it unchanged, waiting like a faithful friend. You do not scold. You simply welcome. You meet me in the middle of my noise, and still know how to quiet me from the inside out. There are moments, Lord, when your presence feels almost tangible, a weightless warmth that settles upon me like sunlight through a window. It does not remove pain, but it redefines it. It does not erase questions, but it makes them less urgent. In your presence, I no longer need answers to feel safe. I do not need clarity to feel held. All I need is the awareness that you are here, and suddenly the space around me becomes holy. God, let me carry this awareness beyond moments of prayer. Let me see you in the laughter of a child, in the patience of an elder, in the kindness of a stranger. Let every encounter remind me that you move quietly through the world, disguised as grace. Let me not separate sacred from simple, for everything becomes sacred once you are seen in it. The calm of your presence is not confined to solitude. It travels with me wherever love is practiced. Father, when anxiety tries to reclaim my mind, teach me to breathe slowly, to remember that your spirit is closer than the air itself. When fear rushes in, remind me that I am held in the same hands that shaped the stars. When confusion clouds my thoughts, let your peace become my compass. I do not need to rush ahead. I only need to remain in you. For every path becomes steady when my heart is anchored in your calm. Sometimes I wonder, Lord, why you choose to reveal yourself so gently. Why not with thunder, or blinding light, or miracles too obvious to ignore? But now I understand, because you desire relationship, not reaction. You draw near to be known, not to be proven. You do not force attention. You invite it. And in that invitation lies the greatest tenderness, that the creator of the universe would rather whisper to my heart than shout from the heavens. God, there is a humility in your presence that humbles me. You do not need grandeur to reveal your glory. It radiates from simplicity. A blooming flower, a quiet morning, a forgiving heart, all are evidence of your touch. You do not demand performance. You ask for presence. You do not compete with the noise. You outlast it. And in that truth, I find my rest. Father, the more I dwell in your calm, the more I notice how it changes me. My reactions soften. My patience deepens. My words slow down before they wound. Peace does not only fill me, it begins to shape me. It becomes how I walk through the world, how I carry others' pain, how I meet conflict with grace. Your presence becomes not just my refuge, but my reflection. The world may not always see you directly, but let them see traces of you in the way I move, with steadiness, with gentleness, with quiet strength. There is a stillness, Lord, that does not come from the absence of motion, but from the certainty of love. Even when the world changes, even when seasons turn, your presence remains constant. It is the quiet pulse beneath all chaos, the hidden song that keeps creation breathing. And I realize now that peace was never meant to be found. It was meant to be remembered. For wherever you are, peace already is. So, Father, as I step into this day, let me live from this awareness. Let me not strive to find calm, but to return to it. Let me not chase what was never lost, but awaken to what has always been near. You are not only the God I pray to. You are the breath I breathe, the silence that steadies, the stillness that stays. And as I walk forward into whatever awaits, I do not go searching for peace, I carry it, because I carry you. Father, from the calm of your presence, something begins to stir, a quiet awakening that feels like the first spark before a flame. Peace was never meant to leave me still forever. It was meant to prepare me for renewal. I feel it now. This gentle fire you are lighting within my soul. It is not wild or consuming, but holy and alive. It does not destroy. It refines. It burns away the remnants of fear, the shadows of doubt, and everything that keeps me small. This is not a fire of punishment, but of purpose, kindled by love itself. Lord, you are the God who breathes life into ashes. You do not discard what has been broken. You transform it. Every time I thought I had reached my end, you were beginning something new. The peace you planted in me was the soil. But now I see that the fire is the force that grows what peace has prepared. It ignites courage where there was hesitation, passion where there was numbness, vision where there was fatigue. You are not content with keeping me comfortable. You are calling me to come alive. God, I used to fear the fire. I thought it meant loss, the end of what I knew. But now I understand that your fire is not for destruction, it is for renewal. Like gold refined in the furnace, my soul becomes clearer, purer, truer when it passes through your flame. You burn away what cannot endure, so that what remains is eternal. I no longer ask you to spare me from the fire. I ask you to stay with me in it. Let it do its holy work. There are parts of me, Father, that still resist change. Old habits of thought, memories that cling, fears that whisper familiar lies. Yet even here, your fire is gentle. It does not rush or rage. It moves with precision, touching what needs transformation, leaving untouched what already reflects your light. It is the patient work of a craftsman shaping something beautiful out of raw material. I am both humbled and grateful that you see potential where I only saw ruin. Lord, I remember how once I lived only to survive, but now you are teaching me to live to serve. Renewal is not just for my comfort, it is for my calling. As you renew my heart, you awaken my purpose. The fire that burns within me is not mine to keep. It is meant to spread, to warm, to illuminate, to awaken others. Let my life be a living spark, carrying light into weary places. Let the love you have ignited in me become a steady flame that cannot be hidden. Sometimes, God, renewal feels painful. The old self resists surrender. The familiar feels safer than freedom. Yet you remind me that I cannot step into newness while clinging to what was. Transformation always requires release. The cocoon must break for the butterfly to rise. The seed must die for the tree to grow. So even when change feels like loss, let me trust the process of becoming. You are not taking me apart. You are putting me together differently. Father, there are mornings when the fire feels faint, when routine tries to dull my spirit again. But even then, I know the flame is still alive. It does not depend on my emotions, but on your faithfulness. You breathe on the embers of my soul and remind me that even a small flame can pierce the darkest night. When fatigue whispers, "You are done," your spirit answers, "You are being remade." When I grow weary of waiting, you renew my strength like the eagles and teach me to rise once more. Lord, teach me to guard this fire, not with fear but with faith. Let me feed it with gratitude, fuel it with obedience, and protect it from the winds of cynicism. Let prayer be the oxygen that keeps it burning bright, and love the warmth it gives to others. This is not a fire for spectacle, but for sustenance, a steady, enduring flame that reflects the light of your presence. God, I want this renewal to reach every corner of my being, not just my spirit, but my thoughts, my words, my actions. Let it change the way I speak to others, the way I treat the unnoticed, the way I handle the mundane. Let it make me generous without calculation, patient without pride, bold without harshness. Renewal is not just inward restoration. It is outward transformation. Let every part of me bear evidence of the fire that came from you. Sometimes I wonder, Father, how many times you have renewed me without my awareness. The countless mornings you have whispered life back into me, and after nights of despair, the unseen ways you have shifted my heart, mended what I did not know was broken, and reignited dreams I thought had died. Your renewal is not always loud. Often it moves quietly, reshaping me in small, steady ways. It is in the forgiving, the trying again, the choosing love over resentment. Each act becomes kindling for the fire that never dies. Lord, I feel the strength of this renewal, not as pride, but as gratitude. It humbles me to know that your work in me is continuous, that you never tire of beginning again. You do not discard. You restore. You do not rush. You refine. The fire of your spirit is never reckless. It is intentional, always working toward beauty. Even the parts of my story that once brought shame are now becoming testimonies of grace. You waste nothing. You redeem everything. Father, this fire of renewal changes how I see the world. Where I once saw despair, I now see possibility. Where I once saw endings, I now see thresholds. Every struggle becomes soil for new strength. Every failure becomes the forge for deeper faith. You turn ruins into revelation, ashes into artistry. The world itself feels different under the light of renewal. It is no longer something to endure, but something to bless. As I move through this day, Lord, let the fire keep burning, not in frenzy, but in focus, not in noise, but in purpose. Let it illuminate my path and the paths of those around me. Let it remind me that life with you is not static, it is ever unfolding, ever transforming, ever alive. The same spirit that first breathed creation into being is still breathing in me, still creating, still renewing. And as long as that fire burns, I will walk forward not as who I was, but as who I am becoming in you. Father, as the journey of this morning prayer draws toward its quiet horizon, I feel the fullness of all you have been teaching me. Each step, each pause, each whispered word of your spirit has carried me from the weight of fear into the freedom of surrender. from the darkness of doubt into the light of hope, from the heaviness of my own striving into the calm of your presence. And now, Father, I sense a new movement within a river flowing steadily through my soul, carrying the warmth of your love and the clarity of your guidance. Lord, this river is not always loud. Sometimes it is only a gentle current beneath the surface, unnoticed by the world but undeniable to the heart that is listening. It has carried every prayer I have spoken, every tear I have released, every moment of trust I have offered. The water does not rush, it does not force. It nourishes, and in its flow, I find reflection of all the lessons you have planted in me, of all the strength you have built, of all the joy and hope that now pulse quietly through my spirit. God, I feel your hands guiding me as the river curves and bends, taking me safely through bends I would not have chosen. The current teaches me patience, reminding me that rushing does not accelerate growth. The water carries leaves, seeds, and whispers of life, showing me that even small, unseen things contribute to your work. So let me not underestimate the quiet acts of faith and love in my life. They are not invisible. They are the lifeblood of this river. Each choice, each act of surrender, each moment of listening adds depth to the current that flows from your heart through mine. Father, as the river moves, I see its reflections, the light of mercy, the spark of joy, the warmth of compassion. It mirrors the lessons of this long prayer, the way you have called me to forgive, to hope, to obey, to trust, to love, and to surrender. Each reflection is a reminder that transformation is not instantaneous. It is a journey through currents both gentle and strong. Even the stones beneath the water, the obstacles that seem to slow me, do not stop the flow, they shape it. And in that shaping, I am molded into the person you created me to be. Lord, the river also teaches me humility. I am not the source. I am only a participant. I do not command the flow. I allow it to carry me. There is beauty in being moved by a current greater than myself, in trusting that the direction of the water is guided by wisdom beyond my understanding. The river does not ask for my control, it asks for my presence. And when I yield to it, I find peace not in mastery, but in alignment, not accomplishment, but in awareness. God, I feel the edges of the river touching the world around me, the trees bending toward the light, the grasses leaning into the current, the birds dipping their wings across its surface. It reminds me that faith, hope, and love do not exist only inside my heart. They reach outward. The river carries nourishment to places unseen. It flows into hearts I may never meet, into moments I cannot fully measure, into lives that ripple with the invisible touch of your grace. Let me live like that river, quietly giving, steadily nourishing, moving forward without fear, reflecting your light with every step I take. Father, I have carried much in this prayer. Surrender, obedience, hope, forgiveness, compassion, joy, renewal. I have carried it through valleys and mountaintops, through stillness and fire, through patience and courage, And now I place it all in your hands again, not as a list of tasks or requests, but as a living offering flowing into the current that you have called life. May the lessons and the love that have been planted in my heart continue to grow as the river flows, touching every shore, nourishing every hidden place, carrying every whispered prayer downstream into your eternal care. Lord, the river continues even as I prepare to step back in the rhythm of my day. It does not end with this moment, nor with my voice. Its current is eternal, just as your presence is unceasing. The lessons I have learned, the trust I have surrendered, the hope and joy I have received, these remain flowing within me, even as I rise from this time of prayer. Let me carry the awareness that the river is not finished. It moves with life itself, and I move within it. God, let this river be my guide when the world feels harsh, my comfort when the night feels long, my companion when I feel alone. Let it remind me that your love is unbroken, your grace inexhaustible, your spirit unceasing. And as the river moves quietly through me, let it become a source of calm, a mirror of mercy, a channel of light. To those who have accompanied me through this prayer journey, thank you for remaining present. May the reflections of this river touch your heart as they have mine. Feel free to share your thoughts, your prayers, and your experiences below. Let us encourage one another in the flow of faith, hope, and love. Remember to subscribe to continue walking in these daily reflections, to share this message with others, and to carry this river of living light into every day ahead. And as the morning stretches into full day, I imagine the river flowing gently into a quiet valley, sunlight glimmering on the water, a soft breeze caressing the surface, the current steady and sure. This is the place where trust and hope converge, where peace and courage mingle, where life in you continues unceasing, unwavering, alive,